We, the jury, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder.
Is Diana dead?
Oh, she died.
Where's the remote?
Mickey Smalls was also embroiled in a rivalry between East and West Coast rappers. His competition, Tupac Shakur.
Tonight's getting involved as a supporters. Oh, this is outrageous.
I haven't got AIDS. I'm HIV positive.
Hello and welcome to Time. I'm JP.
I'm Gareth.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Liam.
And lads, we're back. And before I ask where you were in March of 1995, what are you supping tonight? Because this was, go behind.
This was going off with a JP behind before we started recording here. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm right in saying I'm the only one of the alien lads, and I can't believe this. I'm on, as Gareth points out to me though, he's paranoid me to death now. I'm on the recently bust Love Lane Lager. That's what I'm on. Baltic Lager, Gareth. You know what I mean? It's lovely though. It's in date. I'll be having a good time tonight, lads.
As long as it's in date and you're enjoying it, that's all we need to worry about, isn't it? But,
what are you thinking, Gareth?
I'm not on the lager after that heavy weekend in Valencia, then heavy night out with Matty and Benno, then heavy night out last night at a gig. Nice cup of tea.
Oh, you went? Did you go?
Yeah. I'm just like, Alex was like, Dad's out again. And he was like, who is he? Darren Gibson?
Not Darren Day, no.
Cracking reference from the lad as well. Yeah. Liam, what are you supping tonight? Some of the hard stuff?
I'm on Matty's favourite, a lovely, lightly sparkling mineral water.
Oh, Liam, la. I mean, I love you, mate, but that choice in drink, mate, that beverage, I mean, it's outrageous.
Refreshing, and a little joy when the bubbles hit the back of your throat.
I was going to say.
No equal.
Add a bit of lime to that, and that's the cheapest drink you used to get in a pub back in the day. You were like 30p for one of those fuckers. Stay for another couple of hours. Like, awesome stuff.
What are you swilling there, JP?
Coffee, because I'm fucking knackered. I'm absolutely cream crackered. So I need just any bit of energy on there. It's all about that, the vape, and then eventually, as people will see, the large Fanta from McDonald's that I just scoffed before we dive.
Is it proper coffee, JP?
No, it's instant, mate. It feels too late in the day. I don't want it to be nice. I almost want it to be slightly masochistic and punish myself to just go, no, you don't deserve to have filter coffee here, mate. You can have some fucking instant, which is what it's there for. So, go me.
Good stuff.
We're here. We're taking a trip to March 1995.
Yeah.
And I'll start off with the young ones first, Gareth, if you don't mind. So, Matthew, where were you in March of 1995?
It was spunk.
I was
winning a race.
Yeah, I was 8 years of age. So that would make me in what year school would that be, lads? Would that be year 4? Year 3 or 4?
Year 4.
Primary school. Yeah, so I can't remember anything what I was doing then. Probably. The only thing I remember about primary school that age, we used to play the music game. So we'd all sing a song and we just had to hit a pretend button in the middle of the table and name the artist that sang a song. Simpler times, Gareth, one of my mottos recently. Just
commonly known as guess the song. I don't know the music.
Yeah. I mean, I was 8, Liam. I was only 8, mate.
I would have thought primary school, mate, you were taking stun guns at that point from miscellaneous people on the playground because didn't really have the stunner.
Stood away around there, and I wasn't didn't see the Ace Crusher and that JP around that time, or the Michael Hayes' version, whatever it was. But yeah, it was
maybe taking loads of $1 Million Dreams or something like that.
Other than that, JP, can't remember much, mate. I say 8 years of age, just being in school and not having a care in the world. And yeah, once again, take me back, JP, in a way. Take me back.
Yeah, it's all fucking downhill from there. Yeah. You can't really say it to 8-year-olds these days. But
no, you can't.
You can't. Yeah. Liam, how about yourself? What were you up to in where the streets are paved with gold in Birmingham at that point in time?
Very much the same as Matty. I think I would have been in year 4 school. I think that's all I can remember from it, 1995. I don't think there was much else going on in my life. Hard at work in the textbooks, looking forward to the future in the working world. That's probably what I was doing.
This is it. The system.
Working on a science project.
Yeah. Making a volcano out of bicarbonate of soda. Probably.
Rushing back home, bit of Blue Peter. There we go.
Can I say though, with 95 done, I can't remember what month, but that in the era as well, where outside the school, at home, is still playing me wrestling figures, but I always remember it ties into the music section later, just having Atlantic 252 on the long wave setting on your radio.
Mate.
It was the best fucking radio station of all time. No adverts. And it reminded, the songs on there, Oasis Roll with it, Delamitri Roll to Me. 2 rolls in the title, but they were the 2 songs I remember vividly on that fucking station. Ben will be proud of me for Delamitri.
I'm not surprised because they only had about 12 songs that they just played on rotation on Atlantic 252. So.
My favourite. Oh, sorry, you would have been like 20 well on. Tearing your nose up at that, wouldn't you?
Steady on.
XFM for those lot.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Gareth, what were you up to at this point?
Yeah, I hate this bit at the start of the show. It makes me feel like I'm like grooming these two or something like that, you know, when they're talking about it in primary school and then you like move on to me and I'm like, oh yeah, I was out on the piss because, you know, I'm in lower six at school at this point. So yeah, very much the formative drinking years for a young lad, getting out there, house parties, you know, getting into, you know, bars and clubs for the first time and all that. So yeah, some of the songs that we'll get to a little bit later on just has me flashbacks for me, little nights out in the top room at the park in Whitehaven. So yeah, anyone else who's in the top room in the park in Whitehaven in those years, solidarity.
Very much the Ministry of Sound for Northumberland, that would have been, wouldn't it?
Or even Cumbria.
Same thing, isn't it? Really, give or take.
North.
Sorry, apologies. It is. Yeah. Anything north of Watford Gap. I mean, at this point in time, wouldn't surprise anyone. I was having kids. No, I wasn't, actually. One of the few times I didn't seem to have children. Like you, lower sixth. This sounds like this could go off in its own direction as well. I was working in a nightclub, believe it or not, collecting like glasses, which I did from the age of like 15. And then I was working behind the bar when I was like 16. And then I sort of retired from bar work when I was 18 for a bit before I went to university. So I was in a nightclub twice, if not 3 times a week at that stage, which is shocking behaviour, really, and bad parenting, if we're going to be brutal about it. But we just
cash in hand.
Oh, definitely cash in hand. Always. I've done that gig, Gareth. Always envelope, JP, innit? White envelope.
One of my favourite stolen gags from, as Liam will know, from Blue Heaven, the one and the Frank Skinner West Brom like sitcom in there. Non-declaration of earnings was very much a family tradition because Jerry, who will come up a few times in this, he won't have any of this fucking paying tax thing, which did come back to bite him on the arse. He was reminded several times, but he lived hard and fast, did that man. So yeah, that's where we all were. And you know, before we get into the show, if you haven't heard this before, we obviously, the way that this is structured is we do the 4 pillars of life, don't we, Matty?
We do, JP. I mean, I think I've
fill in the audience what they are.
I've appointed this the 4 pillars of life, haven't I? And I know books always get swerved on this, so anyone listening here that's an avid book reader, it'll never be added. It'll never be substituted. No. They're not good, really. But we'll go to another time. Visual.
There was no internet. We still refused to read. Like, it just weren't having it.
But yes, the 4 pillars of life, hopefully everyone agrees, are sport, music, film and TV. They're the 4 we will talk about tonight, and we will all, you know, expertly, I'd say, guide us through each pillar ourselves. So without further ado, it's sport up first tonight, JP, and who better, as always. Well, he could lead the way on any pillar, really, but sport. Liam, will you take it away for us first tonight, my friend?
Thank you, Matthew. And sport, we're going to start by going back to January 95 for an event that happened. Eric Cantona is sentenced to 14 days imprisonment at Croydon Crown Court for an assault on a Crystal Palace front. He remains free on bail pending an appeal against his sentence, but if this is unsuccessful, he will be the first footballer to be jailed in Britain for an on-field event. Now, I know everybody here remembers this. I think everybody our age would have remembered this.
They'd have heard it in the fucking opening song, mate.
Well, yeah, and the opening song that accompanies the show. But yeah, what an event this was! What a shocker! Does everybody remember where they first saw this or first heard of this?
Was it
Matty?
It was a midweek game. I remember watching the highlights on Sports Night. Was it?
Yeah.
Honestly, like I used to sit up. I was still on. This is what era we're in. I passed me down like black and white TV. I had in my room at this point off like my fucking great granddad. It seemed, you know, this fucking knock at the top of the TV, JP, when it was fucking up and down. But I remember
resting in a cart with a horse in your bedroom, wasn't it?
But it like vividly just staying up, like being awake at like 11:15 at 8 years of age. Maybe bad parenting is a topic on this show tonight, JP. But it's like just being like. Watching this, I'm like, what's going? Even as an 8-year-old, thinking that's not normal, that's not right. It's Cantona like jumping into the crowd. It's just, I always think about it. Imagine this happened now. Like, really, can you picture this happening now? For furore even more nowadays, lads. I mean, outrageous stuff.
Oh, it was kind of brilliant at the same time, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, but you know.
Because as we all know from going to football games, there's a good few football fans who deserve shit like this. Because football fans are the worst for dishing out shit and not being able to take it in the slightest. They are such cowards when it comes to it. So there's any kind of like fucking slight response from a player, it's the righteous indignation that comes into the mix. But yeah, sorry, Liam, I was interrupting.
Gareth, do you remember when you first saw this and when it was reported and how you found out about this?
Yeah, I think it would have been. I think it was the same as yours. It would have been like that night, and it just been like mind blowing because obviously like never seen anything like this before. But it was one of those where like at that time that was probably like the pinnacle of like my hatred of Man United would have been around that, you know, that time period where they're like the dominant force and as a and as a Liverpool fan, you know, you want them to get anything that goes against them, like as much as possible. So I would have been fucking baying for longer than 2 weeks in jail for Cantona at this point. Like, you know, definitely loving getting him taken out of their team. But the incident itself, just fucking brilliant, isn't it? Like if you, it's almost like you picture football in the 90s and you picture like top 5 moments, like that's in there, isn't it? Kind of thing. It's just one of the biggest, most significant things that happened. Just like wild, and as I've got older and matured, and you can kind of like eliminate sort of like club hate a little bit. I love it. What a great moment. That fella just like giving him shite, and then just suddenly imagine how much he must have just shit himself suddenly as Cantona's coming towards him. Like, brilliant.
It was the fucking lies he told about. He said, what was it he said to him, was like, go on, Cantona, it's offer an early bath for you or something, which I've never heard anyone from South London talk like that. Like, he probably would have thought there's a hymen that needs breaking somewhere around here, knowing those bastards. So that's a deeply offensive comment, only 13 minutes in. But it was.
I realised that you say that then and you did.
Yeah, that was bad. But I'll still stick with it. But it was, same as on Sports Night, a brilliant programme, if far too dominated by dog racing from Walthamstow for my taste. Very little football on there at times. But I didn't know what had happened because obviously there wasn't the internet. I wasn't sure if we had seen.
That ref's only 21, by the way.
He is, yeah. Well, it's school night for him, isn't it?
There we go.
There it was. An absolutely belting kick. God, I hope it makes it past the copyright fucking police.
Cantona must have hurt his back on that railing, though.
I know, yeah.
He could take the bump, though. No sold it.
It's the fact, lads, though, isn't it, that it's probably the biggest player in the Premier League doing this as well. What's the equivalent today? Like Haaland or Mo Salah, anyone doing that, just jumping. It's the equivalent, though, isn't it? Like, it's the biggest player.
I can't see a world where Mo Salah does that. Like, I really can't for it as well. I mean, sometimes it's like, I mean, Anfield, you're pretty close to the pitch for it as well. But it was, I mean, it just fed into the kind of mystique around him, though, didn't it?
Sorry, what chest for Schmeichel's fucking shorts there, lads? Go back, don't go back. Sorry, fucking the man fell, been over his head, has a t-shirt though. Seriously, lads, fucking hell.
It is. If I pause,
I'm sorry,
the
lads.
clip that you
Oh, my God.
it's a very very strange kind of.
I mean, the kick, the
bit
top of loads, wild,
proper
isn't it?
he's got on the go there.
How high are the shorts though? Jesus Christ!
Mate, yeah, outrageous, really, aren't they? How high are the shorts? How long are the shorts? They're tracky bottoms.
Oh,
Fucking
mate.
NBA shorts, those are. They're incredible. And some of the 7-foot lads would have struggled having fucking putting them on, wouldn't they? But it was, yeah.
Oh.
Different times, but it's an iconic moment. It's an iconic moment in football. I mean, what I didn't like is when he did come back. His first game was against Arsenal, and he scored a penalty. Because it's like, well, of course he did, because it's just how this sort of stuff works. But it's one of those sort of iconic moments. It adds into the whole mystique around Eric Cantona as well, who now I can like. Like, it was very easy once he'd retired from Man U. It was like, I actually quite liked him in the end, even for all of the fucking pain that he caused all of us here, because none of us.
It was against us. It was against us, wasn't it? That first game.
Oh yeah, it was against us.
Was it?
Yeah.
My bad. Sorry.
Because Fowler scored 2 worldies, didn't he?
Yeah. Secret red there in the corner, JP.
Yeah.
Well, you've caught me out now, haven't you? I saw the colour red and I assumed it was us, isn't it? Well, unlike him, which he saw red in every sense of the word. Saw the red card and the red mist.
If this has been the greatest act of all time, and you're actually from Walton, and you've been putting on that accent,
the commitment to the bit is strong.
Very much.
Like Tony Storm.
I'm like a magician. I'm like that magician out of The Prestige who's just pretending to be an old man carrying stuff, and it's just an old act in there as well. But yeah, incredible moment in time.
Yeah, like you all say, iconic moment in not just football but just sport. And I always remember going into Virgin Megastore shortly after this and seeing it emblazoned in Ash's single Kung Fu on the cover, and wanting that single so much because of the single cover. But yeah, never got that. But
no.
You sound devastated. You don't think you still sound gutted. He's gutted.
I was a big Ash. I was a big Ash fan growing up. But okay.
I was all about is it SCC 72 or whatever it was, the other
JJ 72.
JJ 72.
JJ 72.
Dreadful.
Yeah. So moving on into other events in the sporting world from March 1995. Michael Jordan announces that he's ending his retirement 17 months into it. Now, a lot of speculation has surrounded Michael Jordan's reason for retirement to begin with. Initially, he said it was due to his father's death and him coming to terms with his dad being murdered, that he had to take a break away from the game. More recent times, he said he was exhausted with the toll of playing basketball and the superstardom that followed him. And there has always been rumours that he was about to be suspended by the NBA due to gambling, and that he was given a chance to retire before that came out as a massive scandal that would have harmed both himself and the NBA. Now, during his retirement, he didn't stay away from sport. He signed a minor league contract with the Chicago White Sox, and he played for their AAA affiliate, the Birmingham Barons, I think it is. And whilst he played baseball for them, and the Chicago White Sox at the time were owned by the same owners as the Chicago Bulls. So the owner said he would honour the Chicago Bulls contract whilst he played minor league baseball. At this point, baseball was on a strike, and there was a thing going on where the minor league players in Major League Baseball were being called up to cover for the Major League Baseball players who were on strike at the time. Jordan, fearing that he was going to be called up and to play for the Chicago White Sox, ended his retirement and said he had an interest going back to basketball. So Jordan announced that he was coming back in March, and the rest, as we know, was history. He rejoined the Chicago Bulls. That year, they didn't win the championship, but they went on, won another championship, and it was the second period of Michael Jordan's career. And yeah, probably the most iconic sports person of this decade, really. Retired and came back, and it was a massive event. Strangely enough, it was only a space of a few days between him announcing he was coming out of retirement with a statement that just read, "I'm back," to playing against the Indiana Pacers. But yeah, Michael Jordan back in the NBA. I think all parties involved were very glad of it at the time. Major League Baseball was in the middle of a strike, so the viewership were moving away from them. NFL wasn't really the juggernaut that it is now in terms of viewing figures, and the return of Michael Jordan to the NBA gave the NBA its highest viewing figures since the 70s. That's how big of an event it was when Jordan came back to the Bulls.
Yeah, this can't be underestimated. And in the UK, if I remember rightly, basketball was still on. It was on BBC One, so you were getting like quite regular highlights. I think, was it post match of the day that you'd get some like highlights of like the NBA and stuff? I just haven't
yeah. For most of the 90s, the NBA did have a presence on terrestrial TV. I do remember there was a show that Ian Wright presented at one point as well.
Channel 4, I've got in my mind for basketball. Yeah, definitely.
If anybody remembers Beverly Turner, who I think is now on GB News, was a bit of a sports show host du jour at the time. She did a show with Ian Wright. That was I think it was NBA Action or something. But there was always a presence of the NBA on terrestrial TV at this time. And out of the three American sports, as weird as it is, thinking about how big the NFL is now, the NBA was probably the most popular American sport in this country, and also the most visible across television.
I just remember it as like again, like from even few years before this, you know, when like going into like Woolworths and going through like the poster racks, or was that shop called Athena, where you used to go for posters and things like that, and there was always
the tennis
like
player scratching a bum.
As well as that one, there was always Michael Jordan posters and Magic Johnson posters, so almost like by osmosis, even like not watching it, you just knew who these people were, and you just felt like they were like massive stars. Like I remember buying some Michael Jordan VHS at Woolworths in like, you know, 1993 or something like that. Just thinking like, I need to see who this guy is. Like I thought he could fly in my mind or something like that from all these posters that you're seeing. But yeah, like wild. It's something where like I've never like properly been into the NBA at all. So I think it's like one where when that Last Dance documentary was out, so obviously you got a lot more like detail and background on this, obviously like fantastic documentary, but it was just good to get that sort of full story and then probably go into the detail of some of the stuff that's happening in and around this time as well. But yeah, like biggest sportsman on the planet probably at that time.
It's him or Tyson, isn't it? Like they're the biggest two that come to mind.
Well, that's always the argument with the 90s, isn't it? The three biggest stars in the world were all called Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson, and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, purely enough.
And Michael Barrymore.
Yeah, biggest star in the UK for sure. In the 90s. highest paid TV star, really, in the 90s.
Television awards cleaned up every year.
Mate, he was on about 4 million a year in the 90s.
Like he cleaned his pool up, mate.
But Michael, for me, like I say, I wouldn't have been on my radar at all there, but just being so naive to it, Liam, and listening to you describe like what actually went on, bit of a publicity stunt, like overall with that baseball and all that. Like, what was going on with that? Like, blew me mind that when you mentioned that going to baseball.
Yeah, I think at the time it wasn't this common. Also, American footballer Deion Sanders did the same thing as well. Bo Jackson played both sports as well. Played for the Kansas City Royals.
So I'm so naive to Raiders as well. Sports, like.
Yeah,
except for the business.
It was something that a lot of athletes thought they could do because the sports didn't really overlap in terms of seasons. That you could have a good portion of each season playing each sport, sort of thing. And I think with Jordan, I think with everything that was reported as his reason for retiring at the time, I think it may have been a combination of everything, but. You can't a star or a sportsman of that magnitude, the pressure he must have been under, you can imagine that, you know, the strain and stress on him may have got to him at that point. You know, as we're saying, he was probably the biggest sportsman in the world. So if anybody is going to feel the need, he'll have to retire for a while to, you know, get everything back. And you know, he came back and he won championships again. You know, it's
that's it.
It can't be understated how good of a feat it was. And just to mention as well, based on the image, while he was retired, the Chicago Bulls retired his jersey number. So when he come back, he opted not to wear his classic number 23 anymore and opted to wear number 45, which is the number he wore when he played baseball. So a number 45 Chicago Bulls Jordan jersey is quite a rarity and quite a sought after item.
Well, I was going to say, JP, can I just say, mate, we're missing a trick over here, aren't we? Can you imagine Cole Palmer lighting the Crucible up on the snooker table against Sean Murphy? I mean, what's going on here? It's wild.
I mean, if Mo Salah turned up doing Premier League darts, like, you know, then that'd be the kind of stuff there. Wearing a big pair of headset, like wearing some earphones, like he's fucking Gerwyn Price or something. But it's amazing that these were, and this is always like this is where the time aspect really comes into it. Is this stuff wasn't easily accessible. You weren't seeing it, but mainstream news was covering this. This is stuff that we would have all been aware of, even if, you know, we didn't have a Sky Sports being the juggernaut it is today, or a TNT Sports, or like, you know, that sort of 24-hour sports coverage would have been like wouldn't really have existed in that kind of form. I suppose there's just timeline things, because obviously there's the death of his father that happens. Anyone who's watched The Last Dance as well could clearly see he liked a flutter or two, didn't he? I mean, if he'd been over here, you'd have had to drag him kicking and screaming out of fucking Cheltenham this week, wouldn't you? Like, he wouldn't have, like, he'd have been all over that. He was betting on everything. But it's the fact that he was, you know, it's the fact he goes straight back into it. The first game against Indiana, I'm right in thinking Indiana won the NBA. They became NBA champions in his absence, weren't they? They were the side that won it in that 1 year with Reggie Miller, I'm assuming, at that stage. And, you know, it's very much like kind of, you know, it's proper IWC.
I was going to say, JP, we'll give you the basketball
slot
next month.
Mate, it was sport. It was on telly. Therefore, I watched it.
Liam, you've got competition here, mate.
It was incredible. But I would always recommend to everyone, just watch The Last Dance. If you haven't seen it, JP, I cannot think of a better.
I'll hold my hands up. I'm not, honestly. I feel like I'm.
Get it watched.
I know everyone said it to me. I'll have to watch it.
Absolutely incredible, an incredible piece of TV, and the timing of it being released, particularly during COVID at the start of it, and then seeing shows that were on for like an hour or so afterwards that were basically like LeBron James talking, like just doing like effectively like podcasts at that stage, because everyone was so desperate for content. So it came along at a point, and when it came out, Last Dance, I know it's only like a few years ago, that was one of the few times we've seen like big event TV, because it felt like an event when they were dropping like an episode of this. And I know as wrestling fans, we were waiting for the one, when does Rodman on Nitro? That type of stuff you're also waiting for as well. Incredible. Just
to add to that recommendation of watching The Last Dance, there's also a documentary that came out of part of ESPN's 30 for 30 called Jordan Rides the Bus, and it's all about him going to play minor league baseball in this time, Matty, and how Michael Jordan, the basketball player, became Michael Jordan, the minor league baseball player, who was surrounded by 10 other guys on a bus that didn't care who he was, because they were all fighting to get a major league contract, which is a good watch as well. But yeah, moving on from the NBA and Michael Jordan, couple of boxing matches in March 1995 that happened. One in the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and one in Green Glens Arena in Mill Street, Cork. I'll start with the one in Las Vegas first. That was the world title fight at the time. It was a WBO world title fight, so may not have been a recognised world heavyweight championship on the line, between Riddick Bowe, who we've spoken about on time before, and his trilogy against Evander Holyfield, and British heavyweight at the time, Herbie Hyde. Now, Riddick Bowe, as you would have heard me say before, is probably one of the best heavyweights of his era. His achievements were undone a bit by an element of laziness, and famously, he's probably more remembered for now for dropping his world title in the bin instead of fighting Lennox Lewis when they were both sanctioned to fight each other.
Watched them Medusa tapes, didn't he?
Yeah. He'll be in the Hall of Fame next. He'll be in the Hall of Fame next year, and that alone. But yeah,
at the 92, good blame.
The real Hall of Fame ceremony. Yeah, and Riddick Bowe, when he was on his game, was an absolute great heavyweight fighter. He did suffer a bit from fighting subpar competition, but as all great fighters did, when he fought somebody he felt was beneath him, he overwhelmed him and took him out of there. As you can see here, Riddick Bowe really did give him trouble for the first couple of rounds of this fight, and then Herbie Hyde did give him trouble for the first 3 rounds of this here. Riddick Bowe came into the fight and dropped Herbie Hyde 7 times before stopping him. Herbie Hyde was a good British heavyweight at the time. Frank Bruno, Gary Mason, there was a good level of British heavyweight at the time, but he almost got manufactured into a position of becoming a world champion. As I said, the WBO title, which is commonplace now when people refer to the 4 big heavyweight titles or titles in general in boxing, is accepted as one, didn't really become recognised as an actual world title by the consensus till 2004. So whilst Herbie Hyde was a world champion, a lot of people didn't recognise him as a world champion. So yeah, this is a British fighter going abroad to fight for a version of the world title here. After this, Riddick Bowe went on and he had his 3rd fight against Evander Holyfield. And then the heavyweight landscape did shape up after that through that period when Mike Tyson came out of prison to what we all remember, the fights with Holyfield, the fights with Lewis, and that was mainstream heavyweight boxing at that point. But this is worth a mention because Herbie Hyde at the time, a lot of people thought he had a chance of becoming one of the better heavyweights in the world, and the route he chose by fighting Riddick Bowe at this time was probably not the most fruitful of routes to take in terms of maintaining a position at the top of the heavyweight division. But just looking at these clips here just shows how good Riddick Bowe was at the time.
The size difference, though, for me straight away, Liam. Like, I mean, he's a monster, Riddick Bowe.
Well, later in his career, when Herbie Hyde attempted to come back, Herbie Hyde did go back down to cruiserweight, or went down to cruiserweight. So that kind of explained in terms of the size difference here. But yeah, Riddick Bowe was one of the bigger champions, one of the bigger fighters of the time in that era. You know, Mike Tyson was never a big heavyweight. Lewis was a big heavyweight.
Yeah, Lewis
Holyfield was a cruiserweight that moved up to heavyweight. So he again was not one of the bigger heavyweights, but he was very much a big heavyweight for his time. Was Riddick Bowe.
I mean, probably around this was around the time that I was probably watching more boxing than I ever have in my life, probably for a 5-year period, like in and around this, and like Riddick Bowe was always you know one of my like favourites at this time. But like, I don't know, again because my boxing knowledge doesn't run much deeper really than that time period. Is it fair to say, Liam, that like as good as he was and what he achieved, he probably didn't achieve his potential really, like that he could he actually could have been so much more? I don't know, that's my kind of like gut feel about him, was that like I really liked him a lot, and like I really thought he was top notch, but then I don't know, there was just something just seemed to like hold him back a little bit or something.
Yeah, massively. The big criticism was he lacked discipline. In some fights, he came in very heavy. In between fights, he enjoyed drinking and the food. Whilst having that trilogy with Evander Holyfield, there is a big gulf in his resume of the guys he fought. He never had that fight against Lewis, which they both went to the same Olympics. It was the big fight at heavyweight while Tyson was away from heavyweight boxing. That didn't happen. He didn't fight Tyson. After this, he's probably most well known. I don't know if anybody's seen it, and it may come up on a future episode of time. He had 2 fights against Andrew Golota, which is famously known for the low blow that broke down into a riot sort of thing. So in between his lack of discipline and the controversy surrounding him with him throwing belts into the bin and riots breaking out during fights and disqualifications, you're absolutely right. He could have achieved much more than he did as a heavyweight. And he kind of left the sport after he kind of left heavyweight boxing at a time where he didn't really get the fights that kind of would have cemented him as one of the greats of his era.
Well, what year is that fight with the right, Liam? Is that?
That's 97.
We'll have to pencil that in for the next episode, mate. I want to watch that. I want to see that unfold.
Well, yeah, there's 2 fights. One's a DQ and one's a riot as well. So yeah.
Okay, good stuff.
And Herbie Hyde's a funny one as well, because like I almost feel like obviously you have these, you have these British heavyweights that kind of get sort of pushed into the public consciousness and things, and again might not be accurate, time playing tricks with you and things like that, but I never felt Herbie Hyde kind of had that sort of like level in the British consciousness, like he almost like wasn't taken seriously or something like that. Like it was almost like he's a guy who's been was put into these scenarios, but he never felt like he had the same media push behind him and things, or he never felt like he had the same like people talking him up as much as other people. Again, could be wrong, could be like teenage memories all these years later, but yeah, it sort of never struck you as somebody who was positioned as being on that level as some of like your British heavyweight favourites of the time and before.
Yeah, whilst he was a good fighter, as I alluded to earlier, he was kind of manufactured. As we said in the last episode, Lewis wasn't really accepted by the British public at this point, and he was by far and away the best fighter. Frank Bruno had retired due to problems with his sight and his vision. So Frank Bruno, who was by far and away the most popular boxer in the country, was no longer fighting. So I think promoters in this country needed another British heavyweight to enter into America or to fight the better fighters in terms of lucrative contracts and fight for belts and so. And Hyde was probably the best option at the time. He beat Michael Bent at, I think, the New Den. Once the New Den was built in Millwall, he fought him there, and there was a big push for him to be the next great British heavyweight. But going to America for the first time and fighting Riddick Bowe in 1995 probably isn't the best route to get there.
I'm right in thinking he was unbeaten as well.
Herbie Hyde when he fought Riddick Bowe.
Yeah,
he was undefeated.
Yeah, because he was. Sorry.
He had that WBO version. So Riddick Bowe won the belt by beating him. Oh, okay. He beat Michael Bent at that fight at the New Den. And then I think his first defence, I think it was written in the contract, your first defence is against Riddick Bowe. So it's kind of, you become a world champion, but your first defence is against a guy who's going to be heavily favoured over you.
You spoke about 30 for 30s. I'm always stunned that there wasn't one about Riddick Bowe. Because I think there is a certain degree of annoyance. Because it's just like, you missed out on a couple of obvious massive fights, and it just felt like he didn't want to take them on. Which, in the realms of boxing, it felt like he actively tried to avoid them. Yeah. And that's always something that's kind of like stuck with me, because he was, I remember, was it against Ruddock, I want to say, the Canadian boxer, is that his name? Or am I
Donovan Razor.
Yeah, like there was that, he fought him, but it was the tier below. It wasn't the proper main eventers outside of the Holyfield one, who always, I know it's going to sound really almost like sacrilege, again, was a much smaller guy. So it felt like he took that fight because Holyfield was a cruiserweight moving up to heavyweight. Mm-hmm. So there's an element of like, as soon as it's fighting someone who's actually of his size and at a level that can trouble him, he avoided those fights, which thankfully, I want to say thankfully, it's all down to sports washing. That's not something that happens today. There is that idea of the avoidance. It just can't take place anymore.
Money talks, JP.
Ultimately, to the guy with the passing interest of boxing at this time, Riddick Bowe is the guy who had a riot in the middle of a fight, dropped a belt in a bin, and had a man with a fan fall into the ring ropes during one of his fights as well. So why he's not looked on as favourably as some other fighters of that time is like all these things kind of precede what he achieved in the ring at that time. But also talking about fights at the time, another, I would say, strange one for the time, but also one I think is very memorable for a lot of us of this time is Chris Eubank going to Mill Street in Ireland to fight Steve Collins. Little known Steve Collins at the time. Initially, this fight was based around Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank had left terrestrial TV at this point. So Chris Eubank signed a £10 million contract with Sky to have 8 fights in 12 months. And it was called the Eubank World Tour. And they were going to take him to South Africa. They were going to take him to America, took him to Wales. And one of the stops on the tour was in Ireland. Initially, he was going to fight a fighter called Ray Close, who had fought twice before. Before this fight, Ray Close had a routine brain scan for a boxer that showed stuff that the British Board of Control were not happy with and ultimately caused him to retire. So in this period in time, Chris Eubank, he's got this fight in Ireland. They needed somebody with a bit of local interest for this fight to take place and to draw in the crowd. They moved on to Steve Collins. Now, Steve Collins is a weird one in the fact of he's known as this Irish fighter, but for the first part of his career, he was based in America. He was based in Boston. His favourite fighter growing up was Marvin Hagler, so he went and trained with the Petronelli brothers who trained Marvin Hagler in Boston. In Boston, he had a lot of fights. He fought a few fighters at the time, such as Mike McCallum and Reggie Johnson in America, who he both lost to. So he was kind of resigned as being this tier below fighter who's an Irish guy who can draw an Irish crowd in Boston, but he's not at the level of the better Americans at the time and the better British fighters at the time. Initially, Eubank, in his schedule of this world tour, was planned to go to Boston to fight Steve Collins in one of his later fights. And when Ray Close had to pull out of this fight, they kind of pulled him up and said, you can do this in Ireland against Eubank. You've got your chance here. Let's go with it. A lot of controversy leading into this fight. Mill Street, which a lot of people at the time thought it was a weird place to have a boxing match. There's a good documentary on this called One Night in Mill Street, where the owner of this arena at the time wanted some of the money to filter down, all the money that was coming into Ireland at the time, to filter down into the rural areas. So he initially put on the Eurovision Song Contest the year before, which was a success by all accounts. And then when he heard this fight was happening, pled with Barry Hearn to have the fight in Mill Street, and he could have the arena and everything for free. So the fight was moved to Mill Street at the time. By all accounts, everybody at the time thought Eubank would win. Steve Collins went into this fight without a trainer because his trainer at the time went over to Las Vegas to train Herbie Hyde while he was fighting Riddick Bowe. Steve Collins sought the help of a controversial character called Tony Quinn, who Collins alleged hypnotized him, that when he went into the ring against Eubank, he would feel no pain and he would feel no fatigue. This at the time spooked Eubank a lot. You can see interviews before the fight where Eubank talks about pulling out the fight because he didn't want it to take place because Collins had been hypnotized. Now, if you remember a few years before this, Eubank had that accident with Michael Watson in the ring as well, which paralyzed Michael Watson. So you could see where Eubank's issue was with this. A lot of people said after that Michael Watson fight, Eubank was never the same fighter in terms of his instinct of finishing opponents, and this comes to fruition in this fight. Firstly, Collins drops Eubank in this fight in the 8th round with a body shot, which is more of an off-balance shot, where Eubank had fallen behind on the scorecards by everybody's reckoning, that Eubank had to win the last few rounds or to get a knockout at this point to win the fight. Eubank knocked down Collins in the 10th round and then proceeded for the 11th and 12th just to stand in front of Collins when he was hurt and pose as Eubank would do at the time, with a lot of people pointing to that period as Eubank, after what he experienced with Michael Watson and some of the concern with the lead up to the fight with Steve Collins being hypnotized, that he didn't want to go in, and ultimately Eubank lost the fight on a close decision. Looking at this, Eubank at this point had a lot of close decisions where he done just enough to win, that it was going to catch up with him at some point. This was the fight that it didn't, and especially with it happening in Ireland as well, anything that was close on the cards would have lent itself towards Collins. Collins won the fight. Collins beat Eubank. Collins became champion, and then this was the start of Steve Collins becoming the reigner of the super middleweight division in the UK for 2 years.
Oh God, this is very, very fresh in the memory. I mean, I haven't seen One Night in Mill Street. I want to say it's on Prime Video at the moment in terms of being able to. And I did get a cinema release as well, but I watched this with my dad. This was like an event fight because it was Eubank, and it was like he was a great heel, and we watched it in an Irish pub in Palmer's Green, and the place lost their fucking shit during it, and it was just like an enormous event as much as anything else, because he's not from Cork. He's a Dubliner. In fact, his brother, Roddy Collins, I don't know if you've got any awareness of him. He managed Carlisle. You'd remember he came over. He'd be famous over here for that. And he managed in Ireland for years, a Bohemian. And he's like got a weird kind of like fashion sense. They've always come across as frankly chances as much as anything else. But like, I didn't really know anything about Steve Collins going into the fight, but it was such an event. And like it was with any of these guys fighting at this point in time, and just the dynamics of how it's set up as well. And you wouldn't see these kind of big events outside of Dublin. Like, there normally wasn't the kind of arenas that would kind of work. I want to say the arena they held this in is the same one that Riverdance took place in. During the Eurovision contest. Yeah. At half time, and that was always the one that kind of like, so back when Ireland used to win the Eurovision, and then there was always the stories about that they were trying to deliberately throw it, that Father Ted made jokes out of it because they couldn't afford to kind of run it as an event. But this is one of those fights for me that's just ingrained in my memory as just like such a massive deal. It turned Collins was just like an enormous hero like after that as well, and he entered into that kind of that pantheon of great super middleweights around that point in time, middleweights who were all box office stars as well, and he just sort of fit perfectly in, absolutely great. And the shamrock he's got like in his head, which would be tricky for any hairdresser to do that. You couldn't get that down to Turkish barbers, would you?
I'll just say that, like, I'm glad, like, filling the gaps, Liam. Love listening to you there with the insight, mate. Like, I just remember being a kid, like, knowing who Eubank and Ben were off ITV and stuff like that, watching it with my dad. And then, who's this? And then, wasn't to watch this on Sky Sports, then turn on, who's this fella? Who's Steve Collins? Why is he the champion?
Yeah.
Like, as a kid, who is he? And, like, he's one of them to me, Collins, Liam, even to this day, like, he's deadly serious, isn't he? Have you seen like them round tables that like Sky's have where Roy Jones is there, and he's like, he's not having Roy Jones at all. He's like, no, I knocked on your door and I offered you out and stuff like that. Is he? Did that happen, Liam, or is he just like, what is he?
Ultimately, he always says he retired because he never got the Roy Jones fight, which is what he was hankering for at the time. So after this fight, he fought Eubank again in a rematch, beat Eubank on points again, and then he fought Nigel Benn twice and beat Nigel Benn twice. Nigel Benn was done at this point. Absolutely done, and it's on his record as beating Nigel Benn, but he was there. He was then supposed to fight Joe Calzaghe at the time, and Joe Calzaghe was a young up-and-coming fighter. Collins pulled out the fight with Calzaghe a week before, saying he lost his hunger for boxing and retired. Then he came out afterwards and says he couldn't get up for fighting Calzaghe. He was only interested in big fights at that point and wanted that Roy Jones fight, but Roy Jones wouldn't fight him. You can look at it a couple of ways. Calzaghe wasn't the name or the fighter he went on to be at this point. Calzaghe was this up-and-coming fighter from Wales that a lot of people didn't know. Strangely enough, that fight that Collins pulled out of, Eubank stepped in for Collins. Calzaghe beat Eubank, and that was kind of the making of Calzaghe at that point. Was somebody beating Eubank at that point. But yeah, exactly as you say about Collins, he was he always came across as a very serious character. And going back to what JP was saying in terms of how popular and how big this fight was at the time, especially with the Irish community, it was that Ireland didn't really have that big boxing star since Barry McGuigan, and they were really crying out for somebody that would achieve at the higher level. And then when Collins come along, especially beating somebody like Eubank, who defies opinion with how he goes about boxing, it was always going to make him a star. So that's why a lot of Ireland came out to support him at that time. Do you remember this, Gareth, being into boxing at this point?
Yeah, I mean, big Chris Eubank fan around this time. Absolutely, I was always on Eubank's side. I loved the showmanship. I loved all, like, the ring entrances, and that he was always putting a bit of a show on there. And I enjoyed that, revisiting this and remembering, like, Steve Collins just head down, just ignoring the the pre-match stuff from Eubank, just not letting him fucking get in his head. Like I forgot all about stuff like that. But again, it's a lot of the stuff where he was a bit of a knockout artist before that Watson fight, and then it became that style of just doing enough and like posing in front of people and all. Like I loved that. Like it just resonated with me, being technically good enough to still win the fight and things like that without the need to knock them out. And yeah, there's that Michael Watson nervousness that was in there about it all. But I enjoyed that. And then this one, like it's funny because there is that natural Ben Eubank association, but this is probably this is the feud or rivalry that I jump to first in my head. I just remember a bit of these matches just been so like raw, and kind of it just felt like there was that bit more aggression and a bit more needle behind them here, and like probably the crowd in Ireland, probably helping with the atmosphere that was created around it. I thought these were just wild fights at the time, and I just remember being gutted when Eubank lost the decision. I was proper gutted when he lost, and I was like, I remember being big on them, beat him in the rematch, and then when he didn't beat him in the rematch, like doubly gutted there as well. But just I think a great time, I think, to be a sports fan in Britain probably is where you had that run of them really good fights at this weight class on ITV, and then obviously just as Sky was becoming more prominent around this time, then things like this shifting to there and being able to see them. But yeah, good memory going back and revisiting this one.
Yeah, great stuff. Moving on then from sport, and I'm going to hand this over to JP, who's going to fill us in with the movies of March 1995.
Oh, thank you very much for that. He says he's going to be bringing it up on screen, and obviously there's going to be some sort of natural little delay before I get into some of these as well. But my God, what a top 10 list for this! So just bear with me, as obviously we get Barry Norman playing in the background. So here was the top 10 for, he says, getting the date up on his shit. The song's playing 17th of March 1995. At 10, Shawshank Redemption. At 9, Natural Born Killers. At 8, Quiz Show. At 7, Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. Bookcase. IQ at number 6. At number 5, Nell. Number 4, Star Trek Generations. Number 3, Little Women. Number 2, 101 Dalmatians. And the number 1 film for this week, Disclosure. Lads, I don't know what you make of this. Like, this is, I look at this is like a golden era of cinema for me for this. And when we talk about the Academy Awards that year, but was there anything, what was the things on this list that stuck out to you, lads? Because the one I want to go to is number 10. I want to go straight to the Shawshank Redemption.
I was going to talk the bookends of this list, Jay, but we'll start with number 10. And I think we've had this on a pre-show before. It's become folklore, it's become sacrilege, sacred cow, whatever you want to describe Shawshank Redemption as. Like, it's IMDb lists, every best movie list of all time. It's in the top 1, really, isn't it? Let's be honest with you. And I'm going to be the high man here on it. I think it's really good. Like, I don't know what you think, like, if it's overrated, but I think it is really good film, and I'll watch it at least once a year. Like, settle down and have an event of it and really enjoy it. Like, so yeah, I'm a big fan of it, lads, and I'm assuming, JP, you're not.
Oh, if I can wax absolutely lyrical, this is one of my favourite films of all time. I mean,
okay,
several things about this. I went to see this in the cinema, so it got a week's release in London before it came out nationwide. And the thing to remember this is not a film that did well at the box office.
No,
box office takings, very, very low. It's a film that VHS turned into like the kind of the much vaunted classic, and then the birth of IMDb at that point in time, and where people were speaking about it in such fond memories. I went to see it. I was aware of this. I thought it would be good. I'd heard really good. I remember reading a couple of reviews at this point in time. I was like at the height of my movie fandom, hearing about how good this was. convinced 3 of my friends to go along and see it. And it was the scene where it wasn't a drone shot, it would have been a helicopter shot over the prison. And I always think the score for this is just absolutely incredible. And I remember my friend Riz turned around to me and he went, "It's that shot there." He just went, "Who directed this?" And it was like, he's a first-time director. And it was like, oh, okay, he's got him. And it's a film that just stuck with ever since. And I always think of it as a film, one of the rare films that you can kind of watch. You could watch with your children, you could watch with your mates, you could watch with your mum, dad, and you could watch with your grandparents. Because even though there's stuff in it that wouldn't be necessarily for kids, it is just seriously, I think of it like as an absolute classic. And I'll get onto the Academy Award stuff later on. But for me, I view it as one of my favourite films of all time, and I'm very much not alone in that.
But JP, I'm glad of that, because I think maybe the opinions of everyone is like, it's a good film, but I think people think it's become overrated because of these type of lists. But I'm high. I love it. I'm with you, JP. I think it's fucking brilliant.
I think it completely stands. I'm scared of asking these. So I'll go to you first, Liam. What are your thoughts on The Shawshank Redemption?
Very much how Matty just described it. It was a film that I didn't see at the time. I saw it a couple of years later. And by that point, I was told it was the greatest film of all time, and it was nothing else was on a par with it. So I kind of went into it with suspicious opinions before we started. I like it. I think it's a very good film. I think it's held up in greater esteem by a lot of people for how good it is than it actually is, in my opinion. But it's a good film. It's a good film. I just don't think it's up there as one of the greats of cinema as people have it as.
It's very crowd pleasing. I think that's the thing to say about it. Is like as an experience to see someone going through a horrific time and then seeming to get some justice at the end. I think that's the thing that speaks to people. Although if you go to a lot of religious communities, they see there's all manner of parallels and essays written about like the parallels between Andy Dufresne as this kind of like wronged man who goes through hell, and people read into this what they want to read into it, and I think that's what helps. How about yourself, Gareth?
Yeah, I'm probably in a similar boat to Liam. It's like it's a brilliant film, obviously. Kind of first time I watched it, you know, obviously, you know, the ending and things just like fantastic, and just the you know, a film that you get feels from, isn't it? You know, so you know at the end, like that emotional engagement, the emotional attachment. But again, I personally think it's overblown in terms of where people view it. Like if you said to me yesterday, pick your top 20 films, I definitely wouldn't have put it in my top 20 films like of all time, but still recognizing that it's really good. And interestingly, I only watched it last week, or was it the week before, because our Sadie, we put it put it on for Sadie because she's got a bit of a prison obsession at the minute. So we
Midnight Express next.
I said we'll watch The Shawshank. And then she was up for it, so we watched it. And then so she got to the end, and I asked for her review on it, and she said it was good, but it wasn't as good as Prison Break.
Prison Break.
Is that a default answer for every show and every film now, Gareth, in history?
So there you go. There's the 12-year-old's review of where The Shawshank Redemption sits in the pantheon of great visual media.
But as you said, Gareth, wait for another 6-7 years before us. Is that when you can introduce it then?
That'll put hairs on the chest whether she wants them or not. Like that's what that'll be doing.
You can keep your Morgan Freeman when you've got your Lincoln Burrows, you know.
Yeah. It is. I mean, just to throw it as well, this is like a really. I mean, this year, 1995, but it's just the years between sort of 93, even up to sort of like 99, 2000, just a really interesting time in cinema. Just like where there was a lot of stuff that's very fondly remembered, not feeling like it's particularly commercial as well.
Tarantino, with a JP to start and all that, like. Yeah. Well, he hated the 80s, didn't he? Famously, like what a not happening decade in his mind, and it was too like because you look at what won the Oscars in the 80s, like it was like Chariots of Fire, it was like Gandhi, it was all kind of like
very
as you say,
obvious
like,
Oscar bait.
Yeah, whereas he'd come in and tried to change the game, and that's where you got like his type of film and stuff like that.
The parallel's always been brought that 90s cinema is closer to 70s cinema, where there's a feeling that the decade that's gone before is a big wasted opportunity. There isn't anything of any particular interest. Filmmakers are very generic. And instead, what happens there in the 90s is you get a bit more bravery, which I think can be summed up, whether you like it or not, with the film that's at number 9 in this list, which is I'd like to bring up on here as well, which is Natural Born Killers, directed by Oliver Stone, who I wrote a dissertation on this film, which always makes me kind of like, what was the theme of it? It was style over substance. And if you want the perfect example of it, it's this. It's Natural Born Killers, because it is effectively, I mean, I've got split feelings about this. This is not a film. I think there's stuff in it that's good. I think there's stuff in it as well that is just pure shit. Like, it completely tears me up for this. I'm going to go to you, Gareth, first on this one. What do you make of Natural Born Killers?
It was a funny one, Natural Born Killers, wasn't it? Because again, it came out around that time, obviously, that your age that we were, and there was the Tarantino films of the time, and this was like, did this get? It didn't get banned, did it? Did this get banned on release, or was it like a delayed release or something like that? Natural Born.
It had to be. Yes. Had to be edited. It certainly had to be edited. That was definitely a thing that had to happen.
Yeah. I remember this. There was a big deal of this being shown on Channel 5. I don't think Sky showed it, and I think the premiere in this country was on Channel 5. And the VHS for this didn't come out till 2001.
That's probably what I'm thinking. It's probably the VHS side of it. So it almost kind of had that kind of element of, I don't know. It's got that kind of like mystery and intrigue around it, and then I remember seeing it and being like, probably the same as you, JP. Like, there was bits in it that I loved and I really enjoyed, but there's bits in it that I just thought was the same. Like, oh god, that is so corny, or that is so utter shit. Like there. So very sort of mixed views. I think when I rewatched it, like probably, I don't know, let's say 10 years ago or something like that, I think I enjoyed it more when I watched it recently than I enjoyed it when I was probably been a film arsehole, but more so in my teen years, like hyper critical about certain elements. But there's some, like, I love Robert Downey Jr. in it. Like, he cracks me up no end. You know, I find his character like absolutely hilarious. And then you know, I like sort of I don't know. There's some good dialogue along the way, but again, it's one of those where I think the title of your dissertation very very apt, JP. Oh. I think the style over substance, and it's certainly something there that, you know, it doesn't carry weight. Has been like a great, never mind like all-time film arguments, but even films from that period kind of thing, you're not going to put it in anywhere up there. So it's almost like its name and its reputation feels like it carries more weight than the actual quality of the film.
When I went to uni to study film, if there were people who said they were great, who said this film was great, I viewed their opinions with absolute suspicion. And, you know, there could be people you liked, but as soon as they said that, I was like, right, I don't really think you know what you're talking about. Like, I just couldn't take them seriously, because I don't think there's anything necessarily to it. It is just like, and it's just a mess in terms of the visual styles. He's trying to merge everything up together. But lads, Matty, Liam, either of you big fans of Natural Born Killers?
I haven't watched it for a long time, JP. Like, I've watched it a couple of times years ago, but I can't really remember it. But I just remember it being a bit wacky and a bit all over the place. That's what I remember from it. But yeah, that's all really I can remember. I do like Woody Harrelson though in general, so I might have to give it a rewatch at some point.
It was very much an of the time film for me, and I think the controversy that was surrounding it did do a bit of heavy lifting. But the Retro Boys, I'm surprised neither of you have mentioned this. Have neither of you seen the director's cut where Mr. Hart himself is a prison inmate?
Oh, I don't remember. No, I don't remember ever seeing that.
Don't remember seeing this at all.
In the director's cut, Bret Hart and Dennis Leary are extras in the background as prison inmates.
Oh.
Unbelievable, that.
1995, Bret would have been 94 when he would have filmed this, wouldn't
it? Yeah.
World champion Bret Hart, it would have been.
Yeah. Well,
that's blown my mind.
Gareth's looking this up, I bet you.
I am Googling this as we speak.
Seeing as the VHS didn't come out till 2001, I think the app for a director's cut wasn't really to the forefront
Can
of
I shock
everyone's
you,
mind
Liam?
to watch it.
I love Natural Born Killers.
Okay.
Especially the director's cut. It's a wacky top 10 . This really.
JP, we've got to talk about number one, mate. Come on. Why are we glossing over? Why are we glossing over this? You know, I'm a big Michael Douglas fan, as I always used to have these sex films he used to do, JP. I mean, he loves a bit of it, doesn't he? Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he did too much. Maybe he did, but it's like, I mean, I haven't watched it for a long time, but it's one I own on Blu-ray. I went through collecting my Michael Douglas films. Of the Fatal Attraction's brilliant, Basic Instinct's brilliant, and this is probably. Once again, he was just riding the wave of these as you say, number one though, JP. This got to number one. It's just Demi Moore as well is a big star at this point, isn't she? After Indecent Proposal and A Few Good Men she's been. So she's
paid a fortune for this. I think pre-striptease, but she was still paid an absolute fortune.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, just the whole setup of sexual harassment case, JP, isn't it? Really, and Donald Sutherland, isn't it, as well? Is the boss of the company as well? Yeah. So it's, have you seen this, JP?
I have, yeah, of course I did, and it feels like, I mean, I haven't seen it since I saw it then. Obviously for video views, you've just seen Michael Crichton's name turn up. The fact it was based on a Michael Crichton book at this point in time, because you'd had Jurassic Park, and then you'd had Rising Sun, which isn't great.
Sorry, I think from what I remember, he sold the rights to the screenplay for this film before he had wrote the novel, because there was such demand for whatever he did after Jurassic Park that he sold it before he had even written it.
My memory of this is it sort of limps to a finish and it goes off in quite an odd direction from what it is. It becomes like all about corporate espionage and everything else. And, I should say a couple of guys hosted Raw a couple of times. Dennis Miller. He features in it, as I think his mate as well. Who at that point in time I thought, he's mate. There he is.
There he is. On QJP.
A great comedian. Hashtag he really wasn't. Kind of like Dennis Leary in many ways. But it's one of these things where, like, as a film, it's being sold purely on star power.
Definitely,
the fact
JP.
it's Barry Levinson who's making it. It isn't. I can't imagine, and I haven't seen it for for nearly 30 years. I can't imagine it being a film that kind of really holds up. It just sort of seems to go off in the weird direction. Anyone here not seen Disclosure at all, or doesn't remember it?
No, it weirdly has an Ennio Morricone score as well, doesn't it? Which you just don't imagine with this film.
Mate, Douglas is behind a lot of it. Isn't he behind One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? He's a big name. He's got a big reach, Liam. Michael Douglas. Love him.
He was a producer. I mean, at that point, he was at this point in time. He was still like he was a big star. And I think the problem is, compared to, say, like, it's hard not to look at Disclosure without comparing it to, let's say, Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction,
effectively, just without the murder. Really, it's just sort of, it's sort of very simple, and a lot of films are still very star-driven at this point in time. So it doesn't matter what the content is; you're going to see it because it's Michael Douglas, star of Basic Instinct and everything else he's done before that, and Demi Moore, who's on this hot run. So it feels like it's a film that's guaranteed to tick boxes. I mean, it was a relative success, but not like a big blow-away success. Not like something that's really sort of stuck in the mind as well as much as anything else.
Yeah, the thing that stands out for me is, like, I think at that age, like, when that film, I think it made me think, like, oh, women can sexually harass men, kind of thing. I think it was maybe like the first time that had maybe entered my consciousness, kind of, and it was a bit like, oh wow, shit, like that happens, kind of. You'd sort of, because every other time you've probably seen it, it's always been presented naturally as the other way around, and in the news and everything like that. So that's kind of like my abiding feeling from this film. But it did just feel very much like Michael Douglas' vehicle of its time, but not enough Michael Douglas dancing in a nightclub in a V-neck sweater for my liking.
Wow,
this one,
exactly.
But again, I can't literally seen this once in my life in probably 1995. So can't add much to the detail,
JP.
unfortunately.
I forgot to ask you as well, mate, while we were talking about Shawshank. I mean, better than Demolition Man, JP. You have a little better than Demolition Man.
Shawshank Redemption is better than Demolition Man.
Here we go, then.
I feel quite confident. Very different type of film. And I say, if you want to listen to our Demolition Man review, you need to subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/grapple.
Which is Bob Gunton better at, though? Is he better in Shawshank Redemption, or is he better in Demolition Man?
Yeah, exactly. You know, that your heart belongs to the Lord, but your ass belongs to me. In there. Which is ironically what Demi Moore says to Michael Douglas in Disclosure as well. But where should we go to next, guys?
Lads, I mean, what's going on with this list here? Outside of them three films,
wild.
really, I'm struggling. Like, obviously, the Jungle Book was a remember VHS classic, isn't it? Like, this is the Disney version. This is, isn't it?
This is a remake.
No, it's not.
101 Dalmatians is just a re-release of 101 Dalmatians before any live-action version with Glenn Close.
Sorry, okay.
This stars, and I did wonder to myself, what the hell happened to him? Jason Scott Lee, as I think as a grown-up Mowgli.
Yep.
And
I'm not down with this. I never like recreations
live action
like cartoons, like the live action. Like I think this year, like there was that Lion King one out, wasn't it, with the AI actual animals, CGI animals talking to nah. It's the cartoon. Stick to the cartoon. I'm not down with any of this bullshit.
They're later. What I would say, I mean, I've seen the Jungle Book remake. It's fine for what it is. You kind of expect a lot more, but I expected a lot worse being made to sit down and watch it. But it was the fact that I thought Jason Scott Lee, particularly after playing Bruce Lee and Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, was going to become this massive star, and it just sort of never really happens for him, which is like a strange set of events. I mean, did any of you watch Quiz Show at all?
Yeah.
Because I'll talk about it when I get around to the Oscars. But Quiz Show was. Sorry, go on.
I was about to mention that. I think Quiz Show, if we're of the opinion Shawshank Redemption is the best film on this list, I think Quiz Show is the second best film on this list. I absolutely love Quiz Show. I remember seeing it really not far after it was released, like really young and not understanding. I remember my dad getting it out from the video shop. It's directed by Robert Redford, isn't it? Is that right, JP?
Yeah,
it is.
Robert Redford.
Yeah, it's a really good film. For those who haven't seen it, it's about a scandal that rocked America in the 50s about cheating on a quiz show at the time. It's really well done. Ralph Fiennes plays the lead in it. Yeah, big fan of this film. I need to watch it again.
And, I'm loving John Turturro at the minute because of Severance in particular, but quite a young John Turturro, even though he looks exactly the same these days as well, and a very young Ray Fiennes in there. Yeah. Which would have been around the same time as Schindler's List, which would have been a year later. When and that would have just was a obviously like his kind of breakthrough. Gareth, do you remember seeing Quiz Show?
It's funny. This is a film I've never seen, but it was obviously at the time it was really highly rated and really highly reviewed, and it is even the cover, the poster, and everything. It's burned into my brain, and it's a film that's in my head that I'm going to watch Quiz Show one day kind of thing, and that suddenly seems to have extended through. And saw it on this list for this time. I was like, right, I'm fucking watching Quiz Show because everything I've ever read about it at the time, everybody who my mates at the time who'd watch it were all like, oh, it's such a good film. I've just never got around to watching it. So this is my trigger point today to actually fucking go and do something about that in the next month.
Again, not a big hit, but one of the things. One of the reasons for that, I think, quite sadly, and it sort of gets forgotten about, is it's not really commercial fare. It feels like the kind of film that George Clooney would have made if he was sort of 20 odd years later. If Redford hadn't made it, he would have made this. I don't know why it's not a companion piece to say good night and good luck, but it feels very much like we are telling quite a niche story at this point in time about something that's very much part of kind of that 50s Americana. But it is really good, and it's incredibly well acted, which you'd expect from someone like Redford who can direct actors. Matty, have you seen this before?
No, I haven't, but it looks like it'll be be a good watch. Is that one of the Simpsons voices as well? Hank, is it? What's
Hank
his name?
Azaria.
Yeah. He's popped up in a
Rob
few
Morrow,
Disney,
if you can remember him, who never went on to become the big star that I thought that people thought he might end up being. What was he in? Was it Due North? Is that the TV show he was
Due
in?
South.
Above the Jack Rougeaus. Is that what it was?
Quebecers.
Due South. That took me way back. That one. That's a shout. That.
In terms of the other stuff on the top 10, I mean, there's.
Can I ask, lads? Has anyone even seen, let alone heard of the film Nell? I mean, what's that?
I remember watching that stoned at a party, and then
last week again, Gareth.
and honestly, there's a bit, and it was like I've only today, having watched the trailer for it today before the show, did I realise like the detail of it. I always thought she was like deaf in my head because she couldn't speak properly, and like there was like lines in it that at the time you'd like say and you'd think about, oh, that feels a bit wrong, sort of saying that, and then now that I've watched this trailer and realised, no, actually that wasn't that wasn't. I was obviously very stoned at the time, but that wasn't Nell's predicaments kind of thing. So now, actually, a lot of them impressions that have been done over the years are perfectly fine and justified amongst my mates there. So it's like retcon,
it's not,
like negative
it's not a
feeling
stone film, mate. It's not like Once Upon a Time in China or something where you just like fucking sit back and kick
Boxing
off.
Helena,
right?
That was a good one.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's a terrible bloody film that is. But has anyone seen Nell from this? I have.
No. I'm aware. It's one of those films I'm aware of and read the synopsis of it and thought, no, that's never going to appeal to me.
It's not great. I think I watched this with my mum. Like, it might just be she wanted to watch it. I always liked Jodie Foster, but it was, and this is not the Liam Neeson that people think of today. It's just like Liam Neeson only did generally serious, worthy films. That's the
not
sort
on the
of
blower
stuff
in this
that
one,
he
is he, JP? All the way through the movie.
He's not at all on the blower. But I remember from my memories of it, I just remember not giving a shit and just wanting to get the TV remote back. That was like, it would have been a video shop thing. One for me, one for you. I've got to sit through this before I can get through to watching, I don't know, fucking Time Cop or something like that. It just would have been there to kind of to go from that. I mean, the others. I mean, any of us big Star Trek fans to talk about Star Trek Generations?
Like, honestly, lads, it's one of them. Like a few years ago, going through like a Blu-ray splurge of like franchises or fucking trilogies or whatever you want to call them, going getting box sets. I bought the entire original 10-disc Blu-ray of Star Trek movies, and I only got through the first two, to be honest with you. And they were all right, do you know what I mean? They were okay, but obviously not that good enough that I continue them all on. But they're still there. Is it like
franchise, mate?
No, it's not exactly. JP didn't grip me like them, did they? But no, just, and this is like Patrick Stewart here, isn't it? Star Trek. This is the first one he done. I think it wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's very much passing the torch, isn't it? As well, Shatner in the Hogan role, and I'm not going to say Patrick Stewart is Jim Hellwig, but he does a better job than he has to say. I mean, they've never been. It's just never been a franchise that. I mean, I remember watching the latest reboots of them because they felt so separated from the films and the previous films and the TV mythology, whereas this very much plays into it.
But lads, it's like obviously the original Star Trek's like the one most people think. But this was a big, like on Sky One, Liam, and that way. Like this ran on Star Trek Next Generation and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it was a massive,
massive in the late 90s.
6 o'clock
really
BBC
big.
Two.
Or was it on BBC Two as well? Yeah,
it was one of Sky One's flagships, wasn't it? It was like this Simpsons,
100%.
Cops, and Superstars of Wrestling. That was like
Sky
One
Four
for years, wasn't it?
Yeah, love it. But as I say, Steph, my wife's brother, is like obviously got rid of the wrestling stuff, and he's just obsessed with Star Trek. And it's like, yeah, I should go to him for all these if I want my Star Trek fix nowadays, lads. But it's one of them. I'm that naive that I don't even know the actual. Do any of us know the actual concept / script of overall, and I've watched the two, and I just don't. Does anyone get it? Like I don't. I don't.
Of that particular film.
No, just of Star Trek.
I think they're in space. It's just a guess. I mean, it's just a guess.
Is that it? Yeah, the tagline just lands in space. I love that. Gareth,
Shatner hooks up with a blue woman. It's like this, you know. It's
what is love?
Gareth, never thought to be becoming a Trekkie, mate. No, like yourself, Gareth.
I was a big fan of the original series. Like,
okay.
Like I used to enjoy watching that, but never been into like Next Generation, anything beyond there. Like I gave them a go, like, and just never bought it.
Not a Deep Space Nine guy, no.
No, none of that. And the thing is, I only liked that original series in a
Voyager,
in a laugh at it, ironic kind of way, as opposed to totally been into it. I was a Star Wars man, which I
was going to say, is it all we all Star Wars over Star Trek? Is that it?
What's the Star Trek with the bloke from Desmond's in? Is that like Enterprise or something?
Enterprise.
Lee from Desmond's, isn't it?
He did well. The other two films is on principle. I don't want to put up the trailer for Little Women. I am making the assumption that none of us
to look at Winona Ryder for 3 minutes, but
that would be, mate.
I've never even watched Little Women, and I've watched Winona Ryder in some rubbish.
Little Women seems to be a film that's remade every 10 years, and there's
you don't have to pay for the rights. It beats the 75-year copyright rule. Right, okay. So that's why you'll always end up with Pride and Prejudice. It's why you end up with costume dramas. There's a very
Flanders, JP.
A cynical reason behind this stuff. I fucking hate costume dramas, Matty.
Some hell of a cast though, this film, isn't it?
There's like a real young Christian Bale in this, isn't there?
Yeah,
big name Bale. Big name.
Eric Stoltz.
Yes, Claire Danes.
Yeah.
There's a good few other people. It's people in fucking.
Is Winslet in that? No, Winslet.
Shit.
No.
I want to say Andy McDowell's in it.
There he is, Bale.
There's Bale in there as well. Yeah, this is
Kirsten Dunst. That's who's in this as well.
Kirsten Dunst. Yeah. This is like it was easy. It feels like, dare I say it, because it requires a degree of talent from the actors and everything else. But this kind of cinema, I just find that where I live in Oxford, it is this is what posh Oxford goes to the cinema to see. They love this shit. And I cannot stay physically awake during it. So the idea of watching something like Little Women, it could be told, Susan Sarandon, it could be told this is the greatest film of all time. I still wouldn't see it. It's like any adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. I don't want to know. Because more often than not, it's to do with posh people in love. And the person they love, well, is slightly posher than them, which means that everyone needs to live miserably for the rest of their days. And I thought, I can't care. I cannot care about this stuff. I've ranted about costume drama many times.
Never a Downtown Abbey fan, JP?
No.
Worst ever. That boomed up, didn't it? That was the biggest show in England for a good few years. That.
Just what has it done on the global stage? It has taught people that this is what British people are like, and they bear no resemblance. And look at that. I like Gabriel Byrne. I like Eric Stoltz. But it's just not the kind of stuff that I could ever watch. And I even watched IQ. That's on this list as well. Which is, any of you watching the trailer notice the glaring error that takes place in it? The massive error where they buy a car and all of a sudden they're watching you can see the boom mics in shot underneath, because Stephen Fry's in it as Meg Ryan's as like the nefarious love interest for Meg Ryan, which is fucked up. When you think of it,
that just sounds like you've just made that up, JP. But I've seen it in front of my eyes, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Where
what was this
Einstein sets up a mechanic with his granddaughter.
What was this called? IQ or QI?
Yeah.
Well, that's where he got the idea from. Here, if you look carefully on screen, you can see a couple of boom mics appearing. There, you can see the microphone underneath, which is scandalous. They should. I think
this is one of these films. This is just ridden with like errors like that. I believe from doing the research, is that in one of the scenes, there's a song that plays that was released 5 years after Albert Einstein died. So it makes no sense. I mean, Walter Matthau is Albert Einstein.
I mean, I have to say, he's fucking ringer, though, isn't he? I fucking love that. He really is the ringer.
It ends exactly how you would expect it to end as well. And again, incredibly, like, it's high concept. Well, we want Meg Ryan. We want her in a romantic comedy. Who we get? Well, that's Tim Robbins. He seems like a good-looking lad. We'll get that. Well, what are we going to do? Well, Einstein puts them together. And you go, what? Yeah, Einstein and his clever mates. Like, they'll put them together. So there's these bits where they're saying, like, what is it? Something cubed over pi or something like that, so he can recite this type of stuff. Absolute shit. I'll never watch it again. I watched it once in my life. That was once enough.
And higher in the charts here for Tim Robbins than Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank was on the way out, mate. This was only just entering into it. The public got fucking wind. They don't speak about IQ in revered terms anymore from that as well. So that rounds out the top 10, but that's not the very end of the film stuff on here. We did have the 67th Academy Awards, which I'm just going to ask the questions. Everyone know what won the Best Picture Oscar that year?
It's Forrest Gump, isn't it, JP?
Yeah.
It was Forrest Gump. I always think of this as the IWC Oscars. This one, it is big, heavy hitters across the board. If you look at the films that were up for Best Picture, you had Shawshank Redemption, you had Pulp Fiction, you had Quiz Show, and I know you probably know already. Do you all know what the fifth film was that was in the list back in the good old days when there was only 5 nominated?
Is it an English film?
It is.
Yeah, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, isn't it?
4 Weddings and a Funeral, which I ironically watched in Ireland, that didn't seem to connect with an audience over there, unsurprisingly. I can remember being really angry that Pulp Fiction or Shawshank didn't win. I would have been happy with either of them winning, and all of a sudden, it's like having a 4-way for the title and Triple H wins. It's just like, no, like, give it to almost anyone else, and I'd be all right with it. And that's not to say I hate Forrest Gump, but Forrest Gump is the reasons for it winning of just being like the ultimate exercise in Americana as much as anything else. And I think there's a lot going for Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
But I just didn't think it's not in the fullness of time compared to Shawshank, compared to Pulp Fiction in particular. Like, I find it incredible that ever would have won. Blows my fucking mind.
Same. I just felt annoyed at the time that Pulp Fiction hadn't won, and I think Forrest Gump was a film that, again, probably for the age we were at the time as well, JP, it was just like, it's not, I don't know, certainly not what I wanted out of a film at that point, you know. And like, even when I've watched it like retrospectively over the years and things, I just don't buy into it. It just feels a bit lame and a bit corny and things, and just like
very saccharine in places.
There's nothing that I grip into. I just, you know, it's not a, you know, it's not a film that it wouldn't be my top 500 films even, kind of, kind of thing. It's just our film as opposed to a great film. So to see it win Oscar over Pulp Fiction and you know, even Shawshank Redemption for for the comparisons for that time period, you know, like it just
Hanks though, lads, like back to back, weren't it? Best actor. Like, not many have done that, have they? 93 and 94, not many have done that.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the other ones, before we finish up with film, just in terms of one of the other, Robert Zemeckis won Best Director for Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks won, obviously, as you just mentioned there, Matty, Best Actor. Best Actress, we had Jessica Lange in Blue Sky, which I don't ever remember seeing. Does anyone remember seeing that at all? Does that ring any bells?
It baffles me that, like, JP, you might explain where I'm naive again. Like, was Blue Sky even mentioned in the Best Picture? And then over, like, how she won that for that? It's weird how it used to get, like, do you know what I mean? I know. I think that's better for variety, but like, because it's usually the actor. You know, you've had that where everything's clean swept, so I get that. But I've never even heard of that film.
It feels. I mean, without ever having seen it and just reading the synopsis about like a sort of like the breakdown of a marriage, it's kind of Oscar bait. And it also says a lot, I think, to how Oscars were very much... It was like the epitome of like being in the political race. So quite often it would be like, oh, we need to give it to a smaller film that is less heralded. And as Jessica Lange won an Oscar, you know, because she's an actor who would have been around for such a long time, I will give her this award. Yeah. Rather like Scorsese winning for The Departed and nothing else.
And DiCaprio like, for The Revenant, even though I do like The Revenant. Yeah.
I love The Revenant, yeah.
I love it,
Coldest I've ever felt in a cinema in my life, I'll tell you that.
Tom Hardy in that, JP. Bastard, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Proper bastard. Yeah. Martin Landau winning as Bela Lugosi and Ed Wood in there as well. We also had Diane Wiest in Bullets Over Broadway winning Best Supporting Actress. And Tarantino did win, quite rightly, for best original screenplay, which if you're not going to win for Pulp Fiction, then you're never fucking winning. You're just not winning anything. That's the end of it for that. But, yeah, I think, unless anyone else got anything else I'd like to add, that takes us to the end of film. And I believe takes us into the realm of music.
It does, JP, and I will take over the baton for the music, and I will run through the top 10 of the UK singles chart for the.
You're basically gonna drag it out for just a few seconds.
I am,
I
JP.
get rid of the pop-ups and the rest of it. That's all right then. That's
of course. This is the top 10 for the week of beginning of the 5th of March, 1995. JP, as I'm definitely still stalling for these albums.
Here we go.
Here we go. The tunes of Led Zeppelin are there, and at number 10, it's Axel F / Keep Pushing by Clock. Number 9, Wake Up Boo by the Boo Radleys. Number 8, Only Love Can Set You Free by Entrance. Number 7, Reach Up by Perfecto All Stars. Number 6, No More I Love Yous by Annie Lennox. Number 5, The Bomb, Peas, Pies, Pudding, Chips and Rice by the Bucketheads. Number 4, I've Got a Little Something For You by MN8. Number 3, Push the Feeling On by Nightcrawlers. Number 2, Don't Give Me Your Life, Alex Party. And number 1, and I'm coming straight to JP for this one, it's Think Twice by good old Celine Dion herself. And JP, we after all that, we've had My Heart Will Go On talk on this show before. Think Twice, JP, Celine Dion. Is it a better song? Celine Dion in general? What's going on, mate?
Oh, mate, I mean, you're asking me what's better. Is it Firing Squad or is it Lethal Injection? I mean, like, neither's good. Like, you've just got to fucking make... If you're choosing one, which is ever the quickest and least painful, which it feels like Think Twice might well be. Yeah, which also gets brought up as when we get around to TV in one of the shows that we'll end up talking on there as well. But, yeah, I mean, this is when she was taking over like the world as much as anything, and this was exactly the kind of music, particularly in like, you know, we are in the midst of Britpop, we're in the midst of like kind of like a whole realm of good music out there, and what was getting to number one, what basically proved that the fucking tasteless people were still winning that overall battle for the country's culture. Very much representative of Tory Britain, Celine Dion and Think Twice. Jesus, I found this painful to listen to, and it's 4 minutes long. It's like, fuck me.
Liam,
dreadful.
As you're like kind of the, you know, the across the board in the room when it comes to music, mate, are you, can you see it for what it is? Is it, you know, is it one you've had on rotation on any playlists, or, you know, can you just respect it from afar, mate?
I don't mind this. A
karaoke choice, Liam? Is it a karaoke one?
I haven't got the lungs to pull this off. But no, I don't mind. I've never listened to it through choice, but it's
yeah, inoffended if it comes on.
I can't imagine your dad, Liam, from everything you've said, as like this kind of like this guy who's so much good music. He just thought, let's get a bit of Dion on. Come on.
No. As I say, it's not for me. But in a year where the biggest selling artists in this country were Robson and Jerome, this
exactly.
Is
put into perspective there, JP.
Choice, you know what I mean?
7 weeks as well on top of the UK chart, so it was there for a long time. Gareth, was this was your bobbing your head on a night out in this one, mate, in lower sixth?
Certainly was not. You probably were. Listen, you probably were. This would have been an Atlantic 252 staple. This one, mate.
Was it not big in Cumbria? Come on, it must have been. Or Northumberland, for that matter.
This is just like, you know, stuff like this is just the epitome of like the moving of the times for the top tens just becoming bad, and I think it was you know, we haven't had a good run of top tens from a music point of view, have we, on time of late? And I think this
we'll base the next episode around one, Liam.
This is the epitome of it for me. Like sat there at number one, the absolute fucking dirge that fucking you know middle-aged mums are buying in Tesco or something like that, throwing in the basket as they're walking around. You know, just awful.
Well, we'll go from that to, and we're not going to lump all these. We will probably lump all these into the one basket, but we'll talk first about the number 8 on this list, "Set You Free," Gareth. Now, this must have been one that you were banging your head to.
Today, still to
big fan, Gareth.
This Matty, happy goosebumps out for set you free, mate. Like honestly, just I get a bit of the nostalgia hit from that song is like proper little tear in the eye for me. This, and it is like, oh, don't honestly hair from the back. Honestly, just been out with my mates and just been like, and then when I went to university, like. We all lived in a house, and we'd go out for a night out, and this was the last tune we threw on before we left the house, like every time, kind of thing. So it was the last tune before you got on, went and got on the bus and went into town. Just such immense nostalgia for this song, and it just like it's one of those where I can't even distinguish if I like it anymore. It's just like I love it unconditionally, sort of thing. It's just the strength of this nostalgia.
I mean, like. Gareth, you just go ahead.
Entrance, the best music group to come out of Oldham.
Yeah,
you must have a couple more to throw at us, though, Liam.
Irwin, mate. And he's not even from Oldham.
Scholesy's from Oldham, isn't he?
I was going to say Lisa Stanfield, but she was Rochdale, wasn't she? I don't want to take it from the Ogdens.
Yeah. She's also been around the world, though.
Also popularised that kind of prodigy dancing where your arms did all manner of shapes while your feet just moved as quickly as possible, just together in such a small space. Well, you see that kind of dance happen several times in this top 10.
But Gareth, you were
That's how I dance. It's how I dance to this music. Arms are just out like that, like.
No, but you did, Gareth. You encapsulated what I think of this song. Obviously, I was too young, but I can imagine being on a night out when this period when this was out. And absolutely going ballistic for it, mate. So there
was the club version, the build up to this.
Yeah,
sound. It was like
can imagine.
Slow, like much slower than the radio edit. Like and like.
Can I also say,
the whole place would just be like fucking waiting for it to go. Like, oh.
I mean, we're gonna get to the ultimate pin-up of the whole show of time later on. Like, but was Kelly Lorena like a pin-up at the time, Gareth? Was she seen as that pin-up out of Entrance?
I don't know. Like, I wouldn't have. No,
okay. Sorry, no, I just assumed, like, youthful and all that kind of thing. But we will throw in at the same time, because I did say we wouldn't lump it, but we would. Like, there's a few other songs of, like dance has always been, as I say, Liam, you'll articulate it better than I can, mate. But, like, you've got, at number 5, you've got The Bomb. These sounds fall into my mind, which I will always call peas, pies, pudding, chips and rice. I don't know why. By the bucket heads. Alex Party at number 2, Don't Give Me Your Life. Does that era of like that dance has always been there, hasn't it, Liam, and always will be. But yeah, and Nightcrawlers as well. There's a few, but I'll start off with Don't Give Me Your Life. I think that's a really good song, Liam. I'm big into that one. Like,
Nightcrawlers at number 3, I'd probably say is the
would you?
song
that
I was
going to
take towards 2 more. Yeah, I absolutely love that song. It's like, as Gareth was saying, it's like encapsulating a period in time. That Nightcrawlers song, it's just like, what I see that I think of, as weird as this sounds, I think of this era of the charts. I think of Prince Nassim Hamid, Ministry of Sound, the album, and Lucas Aid NRG. It's just this period that's
this, sorry, yeah.
This I don't know why. This reminds me of those videos that came out of people going to pubs when they first reopened properly after COVID, and people going fucking mental on the piss, and something like this would play and they're just going ballistic, and it feels like this is the kind of song that would have like appealed for this. But yeah, when I played this to Vicky earlier on, she fucking loved this. She was like,
yeah, but this has
still
been
a banging tune,
sampled so many times, don't it, lads, over the years, and maybe that's why I haven't got the same, like, I'm more of an Alex Party guy, lad, sorry. You know.
You're insisting we get round to
I am. We need to get that up, JB. We need that up, sorry. But it is, it's, you know. Sorry, lads, I don't know. But it is, but right. Maybe with Kelly Rayner, Gareth, I'm thinking, do you remember True Love Never Dies? This is like 02, so this is my era of going out. Do you anyone remember that song from 2002, Liam? Yeah, True Love Never Dies, yeah.
I need to hear it, I don't know song names.
I was like, oh, Alex Party, you know, this is, JP, you know, this for me, this is a classic. I was an 8-year-old bouncing around my bedroom to this one, mate. Definitely not on Atlantic 252 either, Gareth, this one. Definitely not.
This would have been playing, all of these pretty much would have been playing in the club. It wasn't a good club. I wasn't working.
Let this kick in, JP, come on.
Yeah, mate, I wasn't working in a club in fucking Farringdon or whatever. Like, you know, it was a shithole club. But this would have played and people would have lost their shit to it. And it's also one of those songs where the lead singer is just like, no, I'm here to sing. I don't do fucking dancing or anything fancy. This is what I'm doing. And I kind of admire that about Alex Party.
Is this like Pavlov's dog for you, JP? You're hearing these tunes and you feel like you're at work?
Yeah, it does. It feels like I need to go around and get those glasses and tell people to start like shifting off, and then tell the bouncers about who's selling coke. Like, that very much feels like it's that point of time in life, isn't it? But it's, I mean, in many ways for some of these, at least what I'd say the last top 10 we did was a hell of a lot worse. This stuff I've at least got a degree of nostalgia for, and it's like perfectly entertaining. If you're at a wedding, and it's always that wedding test, and somebody puts Nightcrawlers on or this, you'd be all right with that. You could lose it and be a bit daft dancing around to it, and you wouldn't think too much more of it.
I mean,
when I look at this list, like the thing that immediately sprung to mind was music that I've like associated with, been out on nights out for, that I have a fucking great time listening to on a night out, but other than Entrance, never spending a penny on to buy any of this music. It's not any music that I would have at home and sit and listen to at home, but you're out in a bar or you're out in a club and some of these tunes come on, and you fucking, you know, right there, like just proper getting you going at the time.
I've got 3 songs that I want to talk about to get off this list before, you know, we can turn it to you guys for the others we don't mention, and I'm going to come to each of you specifically for the 3 left, okay, that I want to talk about. Whether I'm judging you guys or not. But the first one I want to talk about is, I'm going to throw this to you, Gareth, because you're either going to fucking like this or you're going to despise it. Number 9, Wake Up Boo, the Boo. I'm coming to you here, Gareth.
I knew that was going to be for me. I fucking hate the Boo Radleys.
Come on, mate, you like Britpop, you liked indie music.
Here we go.
You like the Boo Radleys. Is this the only
really popular, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really popular at the time. People loved this song. What a terrible song. Listen to it. It's awful. Like, who thinks this is good? Like,
I hate this song, right? Because one of the local radio stations, my alarm used to be set for about 7 o'clock every morning to go to school. And the first song that the local radio station would play on the hour between 6, 7 and 8 was this crap.
It's dreadful. And I think as well, you look at the video for this, it's absolutely lazy as fuck. It is like, it's cheap as anything. It is just a group of, like, you're going to play in your band and we're going to do it from slightly different angles, and we're going to put a different tone on it. So here we go. There's a bit of sepia, a bit of black and white, a bit of blue. Like, that's as far as it would go. Like, and not a bit of blue in a good way. Like,
yeah, I like Duncan James and Simon Webb, JB.
Yeah. Hey, so does Vicky. I think she's got tickets for the Blue reunion tour as well. But yeah, this is just the epitome of. It would have been what mainstream music and culture would have thought, oh, this is indie music, isn't it? This is Britpop.
Radio-friendly unit shifter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I went to Gareth with that one. JP, I'm coming to you with the number 6 on this list with Annie Lennox, No More I Love Yous. I mean, is this IWC choice of the list, lads, or what? What are we going for here?
I fucking love this song. And it's actually based on a recent TV series. I don't know if any of you caught, it was on Disney Plus, and it was called The Hotel at the End of the World. Starring Harris Dickinson is in it, Clive Owen and Emma Corrin. And there's a scene...
JP, you must watch every show under the sun.
I do. Oh, it's too much. I loved it. I loved it because there's not going to be a sequel to it. It's 8 parts, and Britt Marling, who made the OA and Sound of My Voice, made it. And there's always a thing she does where she includes what feels like a very quite standard song and uses it in a way that's kind of slightly weird. And this is the song that she uses in the first episode. And the two main characters, Harris Dickinson, I think is a really great actor. They start singing this in the car, and it was a song that we were playing loads when we were taking the kids to school and stuff like this. Was this particular song. And I love Annie Lennox. I mean, I went to Live 8, which was mostly shit, and I was in the flash bit at the front because of the job I had at the time in music advertising. She was great. Robbie Williams was great. They were the two big takeaways. I saw Pink Floyd reunite, and I was bored fucking shitless, which seems like sacrilege to a lot of people. But Annie Lennox, I always thought is kind of great, and yeah, I've got a real soft spot for this song. I think it's a fucking cracker.
Oh, fingernails and chalkboard come to mind for me with this one. If I was getting tingles down the spine from an entrance, I'm getting a different feeling down my spine here, grating. I can't stand Annie Lennox.
Severed spinal cord.
I absolutely cannot stand Annie Lennox. Her voice just grates on me so much, and she'd always be it'd be she wouldn't release any music for 3 years, and she'd still win Best Female Artist of the Brits and things like that. They'd just fucking roll her out, kind of thing. Oh, there's nobody else. Oh, give it to Annie. Annie's had a good year, probably, kind of thing.
Her and that woman from Fairground Attraction, who used to also get nominated every year at the Brits.
Eddie Reader.
I mean, Liam, are you splitting the difference of the two lads there? What's your views on this one?
I can't believe Gareth says that. I mean, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't necessarily like this, but Annie Lennox is a national treasure, isn't she? You're riveting.
Not in my house.
Diva. Walking on broken glass.
Tell me why, Liam. I love that one. Tell me why. Yeah. Classic. Yeah. But Liam, as we're on you, my friend, not leaving you out, of course, I'm coming to you. I don't know why, but I'm going to
go on. What Matty's going to say is number 7 now, isn't he?
No, it's not, Liam. It's not. I'm coming with number 4 here, Liam. I've Got a Little Something For You by MN8. Do you remember this song?
I do. I might have worn my boxers like them as well. I was such a fan of it.
I mean, the innuendo, JP screamed volumes with the title. So I wonder what they're on about here. I don't know. Just.
They're saying the quiet bit out loud, aren't they, really?
From my memory, this song was massive at the time. This was
Yeah, it's in America as well, wasn't it, Liam? I'm pretty sure it crossed over to America.
Yeah, it very much felt of a British take on a lot of bands at the time coming out of America, Jodeci, Jagged Edge, H-Town sort of stuff. And it was the British take on it, but that's how I wore them. That's it. Just like that.
The six-pack.
yeah.
Gareth, is this on your radar as well, this one, or sorry, Liam?
I reckon if you'd have played this song to me before this, I'd have swore it was 5 or something like that. I don't know. It's a song that I'm dead familiar with, but I've got no memory of MN8 at all. But this song is dead familiar to me, but yeah, it does. It just feels like it would have been 5 or someone singing this to me. So I was wild for me. Who the fuck are M&8 and what's this? And then when I pressed play, mad, blew my mind.
Well, Liam, listen to this. I mean, I'm on MN8 Wikipedia, which I've never been on in my entire life. And listen to this lineup that they've toured alongside in their careers. Janet Jackson, the Spice Girls, Madonna, Celine Dion, Robbie Williams and the Backstreet Boys, and Ricky Martin. I mean, do we believe that? I mean, were they around that long? You know?
If you go to who's edited that Wikipedia page, I think you'll find it's one of these lads who's done that.
I think when you look at the sources on the Wikipedia page, you'll find out they played a Radio 1 roadshow once, and all them other artists were playing on that same day.
But Liam, you know, now you mentioned number 7 before. I mean, I'll be honest, I've never heard it. Please play it, JP or Liam. Come on, I might have heard it when you put it on, and I'm not familiar with the title of the song.
You'll know this straight away.
You'll instantly know it.
Okay. I'm like that with certain songs of this era.
Instantly know it.
Oh, I mean, Adrian Lewis's walk-on song, one of the best of all time. Let's fucking hell. What a fucking tune.
That's the big takeaway. Adrian Lewis's walk-on song. A man who retired from darts early.
He's my favourite darts player, JP. Back-to-back world titles.
Adrian Lewis, out of everybody, was your favourite darts
I loved him. Loved him, mate. Absolutely loved him.
Like a fucking national winner, that bloke, when he was on stage.
He always got into a barney on stage as well. He hated anyone. I loved him, lad. Loved him, lads.
But this song, right? I think
Larry Zabisco to Phil Taylor's Bruno Sammartino, wasn't he?
I think the true legacy of this song is how much money has Matchroom with Barry Hearn made for this band, just playing it at every darts event, every lead into a break and everything. But yeah. Another one of those songs, and just generally looking over these charts and the amount of dance music in the charts, I think it's very indicative of the time that it's from, when dance music and underground raves have been moved away from, the Criminal Justice Act with the public order, that you couldn't have underground raves anymore, that this sort of music bled into the mainstream, and then this is the sort of music that's being played in mainstream clubs at this point now, because that's what the charts is this sort of dance music, where an artist will bring out a track like this, you'll never hear of them again, but it's big in the clubs for about 6 months, 12 months, and that's what music was at the time.
Great stuff, and go ahead, Gareth. Sorry,
I was just going to say, 100%. It's that thing, isn't it? It's that bleed over, that sort of couple of years lag almost from the underground to become a mainstream. So yeah, just fucking hearing these songs everywhere you go, and it's just mad how some of them like this just stand the test of time. Just think of the amount of footy matches and things that you've been to that somebody's name is getting inserted into end of the chant with this and things like that. It's mental.
Unbelievable, lads. Yeah. Isn't this Andy Johnson? Gareth, Everton had this Andy Johnson, indeed. I'm sure it was.
It's Mickey Conroy in my mind of Preston North End. Preston a couple of times with my housemates, so never thought the days of Mickey Conroy would be getting brought up on time, but there you go, that's the beauty of time, isn't it?
Well, lads, that's completed the top 10. We spoke about all 10 there, and before we pass it over to Gareth for TV, we've got to talk about some albums that were released in March of 1995, and I'll throw to you in a bit, Liam, of course, with a few albums. If you don't mind, my friend, to help me out here, but I've got to start one place. Gareth, I'm coming to you. I'm coming with King for the Day, Fool for a Lifetime, Faith No More. Thoughts? Where'd you put it in the catalogue of Faith No More? Let's go, Gareth.
Matty, I don't want to make you cry.
Oh, come on.
It's just this was one that just never immediately resonated with me. Off that back end of the run of Faith No More albums, and coming off the back of Angel Dust, I was so excited for this album.
Oh, you're big on that one.
Coming out, and it's good, but it's not an album that I like. If I want to listen to Faith No More, I'm going Angel Dust, and I'm going that way. I'm what Angel Dust and earlier kind of thing. When I'm thinking about Faith No More, so yeah, this was one that obviously I bought like as soon as it came out, and like give a lot of time to and things. But yeah, just never on the never anywhere near the same level as what came before it for me.
Is there anything on here that you'll like if you're having a Faith No More like best of or like on a spot playlist? Will you put anything? Will you play any songs off this one? Like if you go in there?
Well, I started a joke.
Yeah. No, well, like Ricochet, Evidence, they're like good tracks, Gareth. Just the closing one. I'm a big fan of all them. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's something that you learn with this is like I'm terrible with like putting a song name to a song sort of thing. But like you know, like Ricochet and like Evidence, I think.
Not Seven
like,
Man, no.
Like you know, the bigger, more known songs here. But like, yeah, the reality is if I was thinking tomorrow, I'm gonna listen to Faith No More, I'd probably throw an album on more than a playlist as well, because I just know specifically the stuff that you know that's in my wheelhouse that I want to listen to. So yeah, this wouldn't be making the cut on my playlist very much in 2025. I've got to admit.
Okay, Liam, any thoughts on this one?
Not really. Yeah, as Gareth says, Angel Dust is Faith No More's like peak, isn't it? This, if I'm right, this is the album without Jim Martin on, isn't it? And they have a different guitarist on it. And yeah, as you say, digging the graves on this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
I think yeah. Which is the only one I remember standing out on that record for me. But yeah, as Gareth says, kind of a bit of a non-entity in terms of a Faith No More album. I know some people who actually love it and think it's one of their better albums, but yeah, not necessarily for me.
JP?
What, in terms of Faith No More or any of
the
in
general,
albums?
JP? No, Faith No More.
Oh, there's a couple on here. I mean, I was assuming we're all big Cardigans fans, no? Is that not a
only
thing?
in the winter, JP?
That's a fucking cracking line, mate. For that. Oh, come on. Like, you know, the Bends, Radiohead. I mean, I was always a big Radiohead fan, and living near Oxford and saw him walking past as well. And I won't lie, I did the thing of I saw Tom York walking directly past me and I did stare at his eyes, which probably is like not the thing necessarily to do and would have given him even more of a complex, I'd have thought, as much as anything else.
HBK.
That'd be, imagine he knew that and he just went, nah. Like, he was terrible on the Brett, man. I'd be like, mate, coming from you, it was the last thing I expected to fucking hear on here as well. I mean, there's a couple of like, and it's more in like individual songs from them, but like President of the United States of America and Peaches was a song that I absolutely fucking loved, and that was an album that came out on March 1st of that year as well. I'm assuming the rest of the album is absolute shit. And another band who I did love a lot of the time, I got into more because one of my old housemates from uni absolutely loved it, and he loved Gene. And they had Olympian come out, and he used to like listen to it loads. So that was always like an album that stuck with me a fair bit as well. So
okay, well, before we throw it to you, Liam, for a couple I'm going to throw in there. But one going for you, Gareth. Here, we've got to point out Mad Season above. Are you a fan of that album?
No, the one that I was just going to talk about there is if you scroll down again, it's is this list based on ratings here or sort of something somebody's given? Like if you like, it's outrageous that Elastica album is. You've got to scroll down to get to that, because that is such a fucking good album. Like really good, of its time. You know, definitely some stuff on there that's just a bit unique, but like loads of energy to it, a bit rawer sounding, a bit like a bit more alternative sounding than say something like a Sleeper or something like that, who came out at a very like similar time period. This felt like just a bit grittier and dirtier, a bit like lyrically just like much stronger as well, and just some like cracking stuff on there. Like, you know, there's the classics on there, like you're waking up and stutter and things, like 2.21 kind of thing on there as well. But just an album that I think absolutely like stands the test of time. You know, given how much has gone past by this, I think throw that on, and it just sounds as fresh today as it sounded then. Fucking love that album.
Justine Frischmann. He says at the risk of wondering whether he's gone robotic or not. He's never too sure about these things. But yeah, Justine Frischmann, who obviously went out with Damon Albarn, that was the thing. And clearly someone who hated the idea of celebrity as well. Just fucking loathed it. Didn't want any part of it at all. It was always very clear. And it always made me think that's probably the reason why Elastica never went on to the heights of other bands.
Loved the skag as well, didn't she? I think that was another reason.
That doesn't help. Does it? I mean, like... You know, I'm no expert on this. I just play one on TV. But generally, taking heroin, I can't think of an activity where it enhances and helps you and makes you better at it. If anything, you become fucking lazy. That's the best case scenario.
Well, Gareth, I only mentioned that Mad Season album because I'm trying to get, Alice in Chains guy, you know what I mean? Lane Staley's bit of side project, wasn't it? Like a bit of a super group from like the grunge scene. You familiar with that one, Liam?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Proper ECW music video for the.
I don't know anything. Obviously, the tune everyone will know. That's a classic as well. But I need to refresh. I've got that. I need to listen to that. Yeah, I'm going to refresh.
I haven't listened to that. I haven't listened to that record in years, but I remember loving it when I did listen to it.
Good stuff. But Liam, you know the to and fro together for you, mate. Have you never owned it, Gareth?
Really?
Get on this, mate. Get on this one, Gareth.
Yeah. Yeah, well worth. It's like a real dark, like grungy album. I think it's like musicians from like Screaming Trees,
Pearl Jam, isn't it? The guitarist out
Pearl Jam, and Lance Staley sings over it. Yeah,
good stuff. But Liam, I'm throwing the two big ones off this to you, mate. I'm throwing as a combination. The two-pack album and the Big L album, mate, to be talking about. Is the more you want to add, of course, go for it.
Oh, there are quite a few albums on this list that I absolutely love. I will tell you, the one album I bought at the time out of all these was that President of the United States of America. I absolutely loved Peaches. But just running through the list of what's on here. Two-pack album, Me Against the World. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. It's probably Tupac's most popular album. It's got the hits on it. Me Against the World, Dear Mama. This is the last album. Oh no, I think the next album afterwards before he died. But yeah, if you're a Tupac fan, this is the album. This is probably his best fully formed album out of all the albums he has. But as Matty mentioned, the Big L album. Now, I absolutely love this album. I still love it, and I still think it's a rap masterpiece. This is. For those that are not familiar with Big L, he was a rapper who came up in New York around about the same time as Jay-Z. Kind of had a bit of a feud with each other in musically, in who was the best rapper in New York coming out at the time. He was killed really young. Not long after this album was released, he was killed. But this album really holds up. I do listen to this album quite regularly, and there's a lot of like subject matter and lyrics in it that don't hold up in this day and age. But as a template to see how rap went to, this is a lot of dark, like brooding lyrics, like the term horror rap that kind of came after this with Gravediggers. A lot of those aesthetics and lyrics are a part of this Big L album. Just everything in terms of a rap album, flow, like similes, just like lyric, wordplay. It's got it all. The production on it's a bit iffy, depending on what your preference is in terms of rap music. But in terms of any album on this list, I would firmly put that at the top. I would put it over that Tupac album. I'd put it over the ODB album that's coming up at the bottom there. This, I think, is one of the better albums, and by far and away one of the best rap albums of the 90s.
To get on that, Liam. I obviously know Big L, like, as you know, me mate Crew, he'll be a big fan of that album for sure. He loves Big L, so I'll have to dig that one out, Liam, for sure.
Yeah, and just running through the rest of the list in terms of albums as well. Monster Magnet, Dopes to Infinity. Anybody familiar with that? It's Monster Magnet were like a real like down-tuned stoner band on their first couple of albums, and this crossed over into and becoming like almost like a psychedelic rock band. This is the first Monster Magnet album I had, and I absolutely love it. And if you like that sort of sound, this is there. Spiritualized Pure Phase as well. Probably not Spiritualized best albums. Ladies and Gentlemen, Floating in Space, by far and away their best album, but Pure Phase does have some decent songs on there if you like that sort of sound. And finally, just to wrap it up, surprised Gareth didn't mention this, but Australia's Nirvana, Silverchair. Never a fan.
Never a fan. Never.
Right.
Anyone that gets labelled with being the new or this country's version of a band that I like, it's just like instant turn off for me.
Is Silverchair, and this is going to be a niche reference that only Gareth, if Gareth gets it, he'll be amazed that I know this. When the Newcastle Knights won the NRL, when they won the grand final, and the Johns brothers went on the piss for a couple of days, like when they were turning up being interviewed pissed, didn't they go around to the lead singer of Silverchair's house and they basically dragged him out and they said, "You're coming on the sesh with us"?
Yeah,
and they did it for like 2 days.
Right. Yeah, that's a famous story.
It's where Andrew Johns is wearing like a pork pie hat and he's skateboarding down a road and he's fucked. And Matty Johns is on TV going, "How is winning a NRL grand final?" He goes, "It's better than Lego," and he's just screaming that into the camera. And it was just absolutely and then they just got the bloke from lead singer from Silverchair involved, as you would do.
I love that you say on the piss. Definitely more than on the piss with it being Andrew Johns.
Well, yeah, he would have been. He'd have been liking some of that top 10, wouldn't he, that we went through in there as well. I mean, very much. He'd been listening to that in the church when he was going there in London on a Sunday.
On the albums, only because I've seen the picture form there. It's more because of one of the songs. Joan Osborne, "What If God Was One of Us," lads.
Oh, yeah.
Classic, Gareth. Classic. Homicide Life on the Street staple, mate. I love that one. That's that song.
Never off music telly, that. It was constantly on
Atlantic
music
252, mate. Etched in my brain.
That song is firmly on my playlist of singer-songwriters of the 90s, along with Sophie B. Hawkins, Amy Grant and Lisa Loeb.
Lisa Loeb shouldn't be on that list with her.
But, lads, if that was a music all covered, I'm going to hand the baton for the final lap here as we go today. We take it away for television in March 1995. And Gareth, as only you can, my friend, break it all down.
Wrong
podcast, sorry. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Well, start with a lock-up, and then Brett goes behind.
Give the shades to the fans.
No, I think with this one we'll obviously we always make the soaps a big feature of it. So I think we'll start with the soaps on this time, and it's
Dove, is it? Go ahead.
How many of them love lanes have you had?
I had a love lane and went on the cause then. So I've had the heavy stuff tonight.
And chemicals messing with your head, mate. But yeah, we're in the golden age of, or a golden age of Brookside, I would say here. We're post Trevor Jordash been found in Eddie Banks in the patio there at. So we've got the Jordash family there with Anna Friel, Beth Jordash, sister Rachel. We've got the Banks family with Rosie and Eddie and the lad Carl, and we've got the Dixons there with Ron and Bev and Mike. We've got Barry Grant still on the show at this point with his girlfriend of sorts of the time, Emma. We've got Jean and Bing Crosby still on Brookside Close. Max and Patricia Farnham here on together as well. So we've got some big Brookside characters of probably sort of that middle period of Brookside going on here. But over the course of this time period that we're in here in March 1995, we've got a couple of storylines going. So obviously we've got Mandy Jordash on the back of the body being found, and she's very much been seen as the murderer. We've got her daughter Beth, who'd helped her out with that murder, who everyone knows is a lesbian as well. So she's got that going against her in mid-90s there, with a lot of people not too favourable about that on the programme, particularly Jackie Dixon. we've got George, who's come onto the show as a bit of a swindler, con man, a bit of a short-term character here, who's doing a lot of work trying to sell holidays to Kenya. And then at the back end, we've got a Brookside sort of foreshadowing the future, as they did a few times. People talk about the Simpsons and things along the way, but Brookie was always very good at pulling things out, as we've got a bit of a plague going on at the end there as well. So again, I think various ones of us have watched different episodes from across March here, but anything jumping out on this one, I'll go to you first, Liam. Anything that you particularly enjoyed about Brookie during the month of March 1995?
Yeah, absolutely. My favourite part was the 5-minute infomercial during one of the episodes with Max Farnham selling widescreen TVs to Ron Dixon. I couldn't believe that got past like trading standards, that literally Max Farnham is going through the features on a widescreen television and naming it as a Sony, as Ron Dixon looked on in awe. But no, away from that, as Gareth says, some great storylines going on at the moment, particularly the plague that's going through, as well as the con man himself coming through, who is played by the actor who played the shopkeeper in Wizardora, the ITV.
I thought I recognised him, Liam.
if anybody remember that. But now, just to talk about the plague storyline, did a little bit of research into this, and in 1993, Phil Redmond was hired by Emmerdale to help with their failing ratings. And the big storyline that a lot of people remember that Phil Redmond brought into Emmerdale to boost ratings was the plane crash that everybody remembers in Emmerdale.
Chris Tate got disabled in the wheelchair. And
It was the big storyline that people think saved Emmerdale from being cut from ITV schedule. The next
like the Russo, isn't he, Liam? He's like the Russo film.
Well, yeah,
coming with that shock TV.
Very, very much so. In the fact of, he then suggested to Emmerdale a storyline based around a plague, obviously playing into like the animals on Emmerdale Farm and that dying due to this plague. Emmerdale thought he was too far fetched, and then they kicked him off, and he took the storyline back to Brookside. And this is
this after a plane fell on the village? All right, and that wasn't too far fetched.
Yeah, the next storyline was coming up. The next storyline was coming up after this. But yeah, this run of episodes, some great characters that a lot of people remember. Mick Johnson's got his hair done at the same place as Mick McManus in these episodes. You'll see. Just a great cast of characters throughout this whole block of episodes. Yeah, Brookside by far and away the best soap in terms of storylines that were going on. That we've got.
Mickey Stark there, legend Sinbad.
This is Brookie's ECW run. Like it's not got the budget. It's not got the talent. It's just making the best with what they have in there as well. And they can bring in people like a George and they can get value out of him. I'm not saying it's Terry Funk in many ways, but they're able to turn him like Al Snow, aren't they? It's just like, no, we're going to get a money angle out of these kind of guys. Like that was the beauty of Redmond. It's what he did. At his best, he was Paul Heyman, and at his worst, he was Vince Russo. God love him.
In a very Heyman-esque storyline here, we've got Barry Grant with his new girlfriend who's a virgin and waiting for no sex before marriage, and you've got Barry.
Doesn't seem like Barry's bag to me, but
Barry absolutely fuming her that she won't shag him, and then when his car breaks down and you have to spend the night in a hotel, like just refusing to even sleep in the same bed as him. So Barry makes us sleep on the chair and things like that. Very of its time, I think. Things going on here, but Barry's Barry. I don't know if Barry's they're almost trying to present Barry as the face a little bit here, I think, in that he's fuming that she won't shag him, and she's the churchgoer, massive heel that she is.
Attitude era, outrageous stuff. Attitude era for soaps, booing faces, cheering heels.
I watched the first episode. What was the storyline with Mike Dixon and it wasn't a relation, was it, with the kid? It seemed a bit dark, like she was controlling him. What was going on there?
It was his girlfriend, and she used to go out with Carl Banks, and her daughter was Carl Banks's daughter, and then she'd started to see Mike, and Mike had let them stay in his house with him and Ron, and then And then Mike wanted shot of her, but she thought that meant that he was going to move out and they were all going to live together, like her and the kids. And then there's a party a bit later on, and Mike bins her off, like she
doesn't take that well.
Had enough, no, and she's like, that's me on the shelf. No one's going to look at me with a kid ever again, kind of thing. So I think Carl was waiting to swoop in the background and get himself back across there. But anything else jump out for you, Matty?
I mean, we've talked about that plague. Like, well, I obviously couldn't remember that. Like, genuinely couldn't remember that, lads. And it was just the clip that, like, Liam will put in, like, that 2 minute, like, it was a lady, like, Julia, what a character. Like, she was, I remember me dad, she wasn't in it all the time, was she? She wasn't in it much at all. But even the respect when she passed away in real life, and, like, they had where it was the first time I ever remember, like, a character, with obviously being 8 at the time, like died, like she was still in it over the phone, but she died in real life, so you'd always heard her on the phone, kind of thing, people speaking to her. So it was but yeah, she was a cracking character. Bing Crosby as well, just the nickname, just the best of all. Just known as Bing, really. Ron Dixon just called him Bing, like it's not, you know what I mean? It's just fucking great. But it is, as you guys said there, like, it's the cast of characters, and we'll speak about, like, that's why we love the soaps, like, and that's why they're so terrible now. Because even, like, where it was that culture when we grew up around this time, etc. But, like, they're just not there. That's why everyone's got to come back, because they just can't create new stars. We've said this that many times, haven't we? That's your line, JP. Like, they can't, can they?
I had this conversation, formerly of this parish, Joe Lemon, and he just said, interpromotional. That's the only way to go here. Like, you just do, like, you
imagine that'd save it, wouldn't it? It really would. Yeah. You get the viewers back for that.
Like us, I think this may well be just
AWA Super Show.
Who's getting screen time though? Politics. Who's getting the push? Like, who's the main
But there
star,
would have been
like?
a point in time if Babs Windsor, if Peggy Mitchell turns up with Pat Butcher in the Rovers return.
Mate, seriously, JP? 30 million? No, seriously? Seriously?
What the fuck is going on? I'm watching this. Even when Barry Grant turned up as a different character, he has to be in there as Barry Grant. They need to do it. They just need to do this crossover. There's a group of lads from EastEnders who end up in Manchester. I know one of them go, like, work experience, whatever.
Stag do or something, JP, anything, yeah.
Fucking anything for that kind of a story. Like, that's what you want. You want a bit of that, and then you want, like, I don't know, like some Romeo and Juliet style storyline with, like, warring feuds there, and there's a couple of the young ones, whoever they are these days, just getting together. A forbidden love that dare not speak its name. That a lad from London goes out with a woman from Manchester. Like that. That'd be the only way to save the soaps.
There's just a few. I mean, we talk about, like, things have been of its time here. Like, a big one with this is obviously Beth Jordache was the first lesbian kiss, wasn't it? And then and like here with the murder that's happened and things, she goes out and she's living with Jackie Dixon and she's living with Katie Rogers in their flat briefly, and Jack is opposed to it. Like, in the first instance, she's saying, like, I don't want to live in the same house as a lesbian, and then, like, she's worried. She says she was up all night because she's a les and she might get in my bed, and like, and then, like, she's got Katie Rogers saying to her, like, we've got some sausages in for the morning, like, but you might not like those. So, like, oh, I meant because I assumed you might be a vegetarian and things, and you're like, this is all on telly kind of thing, and it just really shows, like, just imagine that been on telly now kind of thing, just on a soap opera, like middle of an evening, like, it's just wild.
That's just comedically offensive, like, in such a way. It'd just be that, like, daft shit from the 80s, like you'd expect, but this is instead 1995, mate. That's some incredible quotes. Incredible.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've got George flogging trips to Kenya, and he eventually gets his comeuppance when he dies of plague, and then you've got Gary Salter who's knocking about with Mick Jono. Did you see that death at all, Liam? Did you see?
Saw that. Yeah.
Enjoy Gary's performance in the Leisure Centre.
I mean, shame that the Oscars was a couple of weeks earlier. I mean, we've said numerous times before, Brookside's a motion picture, so he should have really been up for that performance. Wow.
Oh yeah, poor lad. He dies and he falls in the pool. And another one gone by plague, kind of a thing. But then we've also got Coronation Street, as always, going on this. And Matty, I think that's the one that you particularly enjoyed this time round.
This was incredible. Because honestly, watching this, lad, seriously, like, I put this on and with 1995, it looked like 1985. Let's be honest, didn't it? Like it was, and we hadn't. No, seriously, just the calf was the old calf. It was the road. Look at everyone. Look, this is 95. We're like we've had the grunge scene in the world, Gareth. We've had this change in life. And look at it, it could be 70s even. The set hasn't changed.
Is anyone listening to Prodigy around this street?
Look at Sherry Houston. She looks older there than she does now. And it's 30 odd years ago. It's incredible.
You could tell the world was changing. Alf Roberts couldn't get black shoelaces and Percy Sundin couldn't get his portraits.
But JP, we've got a few young push there like Steve McDonald and Fiona, but we're still in this is the old, this is the veterans territory. Your Percy's, your Alfs are still knocking about. Your Reg, I mean Reg is the whole episode is based around Reg's wig though in a kind of, I mean, the time, even Norman. It's gold though, isn't it? That was a golden fucking comedy duo. And Reg just got the wig on when he's going for meetings and that. And then something happens where the car crashes and Reg has got to bail and save what's her name? Maureen's van, isn't it? Maureen. So then Maureen's got in the car with Curly. And Reg just told Curly to put the wig away, but he's put it in the what is it above? What the fuck's it called? Whatever it's called above.
It's just behind the mirror. There's windshield.
Yeah, it's just behind the
sunshield.
The sunshield mirror. So when something happens and she pulls it down, it falls out into fucking something into her lap, and she thinks it's like a rat. But it's gold though, Gareth. It's absolutely comedic timing, a genius that Corrie's known for and always will be. It's so silly, but it works because these are good comedic actors, like, you know. And Steve's not there yet, although he's hilarious in this. But honestly, mate, like, you're saying it should be nominated for us. It should be best comedy. It should be always Coronation Street, lads, because it's just, it cracks me up every time. Love it.
Well, when you say JP, was anyone listening to the Prodigy at this time? Well, we have a brief scene where Steve and Mike Baldwin are at the garage and Jim McDonald's listening to Entrance. I was like, oh, Jim knows where it's at.
Well, Jim would be into all sorts, wouldn't it? And I'm not talking just whiskey, as well. But it's just not a good sign when the territory goes to comedy, because like what I'm reminded by of this era of Corrie is the AWA and its last days. And its
look at Mavis, another veteran, still there.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, like, where's Les Dennis when you need him during this?
No, but like, honestly, when I first put it on, I thought you put got 1985 though, Liam, genuinely, because it was like fucking hell. And what's Maureen's mum called as well in the shop? I forgot about her as well. Like, Maud. There's so many. Maud, that's it. There's so many. Not as good as Blanche though, Gareth. No one's as good as Blanche.
No. My brother had a Reg Holdsworth t-shirt.
Yeah, Reg is a legend.
Just a big picture of Reg Holdsworth face with a big smile holding a cup of tea. I remember that, so I tried to nick it off him a few times to go out in, but he just kept that under lock and key quite smartly. But
other than Percy's Pilchards, anything you enjoyed on this one, Liam?
I was going to say, where we ranking Sean Skinner in terms of Coronation Street villains? The bookie. Here he is.
See, I can't really remember him, you know, Liam. I didn't remember him at all.
He was in it for quite a bit. He was like an off-and-on character. He eventually sold the bookies to Peter Barlow, didn't he? He come back.
But there was that long in it, yeah?
Yeah, like early 2000s, yeah.
Oh, look at Steve here, with that.
50 Steve.
Yeah, this is tweener Steve before he come on full-on comedy face, innit? This is like, you know, he's bit of a rogue, really, JP, around this time, Steve McDonald. And then he becomes full-on, like, you know, lovable. Fucking Mick Foley becomes in the end, doesn't he, really? Let's be honest with you.
He was very much not like Andy. Like, you know, he not hashtag not my McDonald. It's always Jim.
Jim's the one of the greatest of all time. Look at him. Just owns the screen, doesn't he, every time he's there?
Oh, mate, he does. Just because he's an animal in real life. And I'd highly recommend for anyone, if you haven't seen it, just somebody did that. Well, they just put all these scenes of Jim McDonald punching people to
the bill.
Ace of Spades.
Oh, Ace of Spades, isn't it?
Ace of Spades, and just beating the shit out of people. And I've never seen the song suit a man more.
But can we say,
still top
lads,
heel, Mike Baldwin.
Can we say though, if it's actual just fists, like a fist fight, is he the actual hardest soap character of all time, Jim McDonald? Would you have him again? Who comes to mind with just fists?
Stamina.
No. Who you having,
I,
JP?
I reckon Jim's got to knock it out early. I reckon.
Okay. Okay.
Bit
you do Phil
Butterbean-esque.
Mitchell. I have Phil Mitchell down as Butterbean.
Yeah, that's. There's a natural physical resemblance. I mean, he would be. I mean, when watching going back to the Steve Collins fight, where it's a bit wild and he's like swinging punches, that's Jim McDonald though. But if you having that fight in Belfast, I don't know whoever the soap's version of Chris Eubank would be. Possibly, I'd imagine like a Ross Kemp and a Grant Mitchell at that point. But you've got him in an away game in Belfast. You're betting on Jim all day.
Got a little quiz question for you. How old's Audrey Roberts here?
I reckon you're older than I, Gareth.
I'm going to say 47. And
She's definitely late 40s. She's not 50 at this point, I don't think.
I'm going to say 51.
On the nose, Liam. Yeah. Totally nailed on. Just a mere 4 years older than me and you here, JP. God.
Hell.
Right in our ballpark there, right in our league.
Really? This is the stage of our lives that we're at, aren't we? Mate, all we've got is hell to look forward to. Like,
but JP, Amanda Barry, ended up in the big shows, Bad Girls, when she ended up in him. She ended up
She was in the Carry On film, mate.
Was she? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obvious reasons for anyone who's ever seen a Carry On film. But.
How old do you think Amanda Barry is, sir?
I didn't look that one up.
I reckon she's 45.
Well, she's currently 89.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is she what? What's she doing?
Monster knock.
59 there? No, she's not 59. She looks fucking brilliant.
Yeah, 90 this year.
Fucking hell, she looks great for 59, doesn't she?
Wow.
Yeah.
Look, she's taking the piss, if anything else, with that 18. Mate, that's a monster knock in age terms. That's like Brian Lara's 375 for Warwickshire. That's like,
you would say she was younger than Audrey, wouldn't you, on glance?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What do we reckon on Steve's rig out here, lads? What kind of wigs are you going for? Long leather jacket, like bit of I'd say that heelish vibe. Like, what type of jeans? Like how baggy, how high are they? Like, it's just...
you think he's been listening to like early Danzig records with that hairstyle?
Yeah, definitely. Look at how young he is now. I'm skinny.
He is. It's funny, isn't it? Seeing his neck. But it's a big storyline on this one. He's had his betting problems and things, and he's bit skint, and Fiona's on the verge of leaving him here, but he's managed to sweet talk his way around and take her out for a meal, and then punchline at the end of the show is
funny is Gareth?
Credit card declines, and then he's final line of the show. Have you got any money on you?
No, mate, I was crying with tears because you know what's better about it? It's on her face, and he says it off camera, doesn't he? It's what makes it even better, and then it goes off. It's genius. Have you got anybody on you?
Well, we'll move on to EastEnders. Very much, I would say, the lesser of the three soaps in March 1995 here.
I didn't get round to this one, lads.
Again, we've got not a lot going on here. Basically, we've got Bianca's found out that David Wicks is her dad, and her and Tiffany are sitting down having a crack. Just he said he's going to do anything for her, so they're plotting out which money they can screw him out of and when. You've got a pretty boring storyline of Michelle Fowler getting married to some older fella and him sitting around the table at Pauline's as they scrutinise him on that one. You've got Mark Fowler with goatee. Which is not something that I remember at all.
Alive and well.
What a shot that is, a grab through the fucking railings there, though. Perfectly done.
Mark's big story being that his missus wants to buy a house with him. And then you've got some... because I didn't watch any more, I wasn't 100% sure on this, but is Sharon shagging Phil? Has she been shagging Phil behind Grant's back here? Is this the story at this time? So Grant's given her the divorce papers at the end here, but... Not a lot of life in this episode. I think you said you didn't watch it, JP. You didn't, Matty. Did you?
No.
You watch this one, Liam?
I did. And as you say, there's not much going on. It kind of feels like the connective tissue between a lot of storylines that's going on. biggest thing I remember is Mark Fowler's goatee, as you mentioned, somewhat akin to Sting showing up in the Wolfpack.
You just need a little fast forward here, JP, to just.
Yeah, we need to see it. I was going to say we need to see it now. I mean,
it's definitely the outstanding moment of the episode. Here it is.
There he is, with Alan Jackson, if I remember rightly. There,
yeah.
It's a hell of a goatee, isn't it?
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Even with this darkness working on the fucking market, but not your usual goatee that you're expecting as well. I almost feel like I need to fast forward through a slightly clip with a bit more light. There
A bit
it
more
is.
daylight, yeah. It's a little D'Artagnan or something here.
Dare I say, is he just thinking this is what lads with AIDS have? They've got beards like this. I'm getting into character. Didn't see Magic Johnson with one of these, did you? Just saying.
Well, we'll put the soaps to bed. We've seen the most important part there. We've seen the goatee. So I think the next thing that we'll move on to, very popular. Certainly amongst my mates anyway. Very popular comedy of its time. We're on to series 1 of Game On, and as we saw episode 1, or I'll throw to Liam, or is it?
Oh, not necessarily. So this was episode 1 in the sequence that was supposed to be run, but wasn't shown until the 3rd week. Reason behind this is that the storyline is based around a boxer, and this was 3 weeks after the Nigel Benn Gerald McClellan fight. So the BBC didn't air it at the time, which in turn let the first series of Game On be broadcast out of sequence. Some of the continuation errors that you recognise when you watch this in the order that the BBC show it is in the 3rd episode, which is when this episode should have been shown. The one that was aired, which was the 1st episode, keep track everybody, you see Samantha Janus ironing and burning the surfboard. And later in the series as well, you see the surfboard with no ironing marks on it, so it's out of sequence. The subsequent DVD and VHS releases put them back in the order it should be, but when it was broadcast, due to the Ben McClellan fight, it was shown out of sequence.
Okay. Well, but if anybody's not familiar with Game On, it's very much I would say. A laddish comedy of the time. It's the thinking man's men behaving badly. I would put it forward. I'd definitely a much more clever and a bit more current take on actual sort of like laddism of the time. You've got Matthew, who's who owns the flat there, who's is agoraphobic the right word? You won't leave the house. The correct there, but you've got his friend Martin, who he shares the house with there, who's the much more nerdier character and sort of looks up to Matthew despite his obvious flaws in his character, and they live with Mandy, so the aforementioned Samantha Janus there, who's got a different fella on every episode, I think, across the entire series of Game On. So telling you very much about her character and where she was at the time with this one. But I think you said you loved a bit of this episode, Matty.
Love as we agree, Gareth. Like, love Game On, but strictly season 1. I mean, I stayed with it, as a kid because of the name but even as a kid hating it. Was Ben Chaplin obviously leaves to go to Hollywood, does he? And Neil Stuke comes in, and I watched a bit of when I watched this on YouTube, Liam gave it didn't bust the physical out, which I am going to this week to watch the whole of it. Well, when I get back from holiday, I should say, to watch the whole season. And I put a bit on of Neil Stuke, and like, it's just a completely different take on Matthew, even though it's the same obviously traits with being won't leave the house and stuff. The delivery's just poor. He's just not cool anymore, Gareth, is he? He's just, even though he's a knobhead, he is still cool because of how he looks. He's a good-looking fella, isn't he? And he's cool. Neil Stuke just plays it so hammy and so it's awful, isn't it? Really,
I struggled to watch this. I was never a fan of Game On at the time. And when he did his shock at Samantha Janus for daring to go out with a black man, I was like, oh my God. Like I was genuinely shocked. I thought this is early 1970s of where it's gone to there. But I just think it's that genre of comedy for me. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm weird and I slightly preferred men behaving badly to it. Which I know seems like sacrilege saying it for this, but I could never warm to Ben Chaplin, who went off then to Hollywood pretty much on the back of this, didn't he? And did
True for Cats and Dogs with
Fairman,
was it? That's the film, wasn't
it? Uma Thurman, Jeannie Garofalo.
Yeah.
No, when he's doing the old in one of the episodes, he's doing the old Robert De Niro impressions in front of the mirror and
Taxi
things like
driver.
that. You can just tell he's just so good with it, the way that he does that. But yeah, and obviously storyline running through this as JP says, Mandy's fella of the day this time is a boxer who for some reason is fighting on the Wednesday and he's going out on the piss with her on the Saturday before the big fight. The Rage, Paul the Rage Johnson.
Big Birmingham star, David Harewood, that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I know it's off the time and that, but it's the scene later on where Martin ends up getting a date, doesn't he, with an American girl he meets at the restaurant, Gareth. And the story when they're all sitting on the couch, because he comes, obviously Matthew and Mandy are staying up watching the fight, and Martin comes in and they're not expecting to come home so early. And just where they're sitting on the couch, Gareth, Janice's his facial expressions is hilarious. Because he's explaining, and it's obviously at the time, and Matthew's so disappointed that man didn't get his leg over. He's living vicariously through because he won't leave the house. It's fucking no, honestly. Samantha Janice's facials in that are so fucking good, and honestly, yeah, it's one that, well, as I say, Gareth, once again, JP. Theme throughout the whole show. Bad parenting. Why was I watching this when I was 8? Why did I get it when I was 8? Yeah. Why have I always had that affinity for this when I was 8? I love it. This first season, I love it.
Lads, the generation our parents are part of, they weren't prepared for this stuff to be on telly. They weren't. If you figure what was on late back in the day for them, there wasn't even a fucking Channel 4. So, let alone the word would have blown their minds if that had been around in the mid 1970s and stuff. And I think that really is the issue: is that television had gone on so much. They just didn't. They just thought, well, just as long as they're in bed by 10 o'clock, I'm sure everything on before then is fine. And then you get footballers' wives. And it's just which I know, obviously, I don't know how your parents would have reacted to that, Matty, when that fucking appeared.
JP fucking loved it. Absolutely loved Footballer's Wives. Got the first 4 seasons on DVD, mate. Fucking love it.
Here's a question for JP and Gareth. This is the first time I remember seeing Samantha Janus. Did you see this programme at the time as pop star Samantha Janus being in a comedy show? Or was it just this is an actress?
I thought this is an actress.
Yeah.
And I kind of associated her with Loaded / it would have been with Nuts and Zoo.
FHM,
it all feels
like
FHM of an era of the sort of lads mag fodder. Samantha Janus. That's what it feels.
She was very good in Up and Under. I remember that.
Yeah. The rugby Neil Morrissey in that. Is it Neil Morrissey?
I'm thinking about one scene in particular, but hey.
I know what scene, Gareth. Once again, why was I watching that when I was 9? But
hang on. Was that Legal Union Up and Under?
It was Rugby League. Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Only reason I watched it.
But once again, we're saving the big, obviously the legend of time so far for the end, the pin up of the time. But Sam Janus, Womack, EastEnders alumni as well. JP, what a legend she is. Legend.
Cracking theme tune on this show as well.
Out of Dumb and Dumber as well, that Gareth. So it's always got a affinity with me. Yeah.
Gigolo Aunts, great song.
Gigolo Aunts, great song.
Also
on the list then on this time, given that you said there, Matty, about best for last, I guess you're talking about somebody on the word. So just through some of the shows that were on the list this time, and just go around. So we had We had the Sunday show on the list with JP's favourite, Katie Puckrick, presenting there. We had a couple of game shows, Lucky Numbers and Wipeout. I don't know if anybody wants to chip in on any of these that they managed to watch.
Can I chip in about the game shows? I mean,
go for it.
All I want to say is a couple of points. Lucky Numbers at a prize of 20 grand. Game show prize inflation it just hasn't moved. It's still 20. It's still, if you get 20 grand out of a game show, you're doing well. Yeah. 30 years ago it is that, and it almost feels reflective of how wages have generally stagnated over the last 50 years, whereas house prices have gone up. It's like it doesn't we haven't factored in cost of living for like game show prizes as well, and that's a piece of piss. As opposed to Wipeout with Paul Daniels, which is fucking insane for how difficult it is. People having to guess all sorts for the right to get £200. I was shocked. I would be like, am I playing this for 200? Oh, you can fuck off. Like, seriously. Like, you can ask me what year did fucking Desert Orchid win the Cheltenham Gold Cup? But like, I shouldn't be having to like guess like what is it? It's like, which of these words is originally French? Or like the initials for companies, which he takes the piss with NASA. He changes it from association to administration, and he gets I just thought, you fucking smart ass Daniels on here. Stick to your low level magic tricks. He's just taking the piss at this point. I thought that was poor form.
It was a better programme when Monkhouse took over, wasn't it?
Yeah, Monkhouse.
Yeah. But when he got to films, Monkhouse, it was like the light bulb went off in his head. He went, now we're fucking motoring.
But Lucky Numbers, I always like remember like Richie was getting it, like a push that is wigged out, like pure Elvis stuff, and like it's terrible, like it's fucking awful. He was doing me head in on this.
I thought it was Shakin' Stevens, mate.
Yeah. And he was opening your doorstep and cleaning your sheets as well, wasn't he?
He would, yeah.
Yeah, he would do.
I don't remember that show. At all. Lucky Numbers.
Interactive bingo, really.
Yeah. I pressed the clip and I was like, have I never heard of this? Like, weird. Like, blows my mind when something like that crops up. Any thoughts on Sunday show?
Dennis Pennis, isn't it? Like, another physical DVD legend. Gareth and mine, love him. Like, just having the bollocks. How did he get to the front row of, like, because of the BBC brand, isn't it? How's he at the front row, like cans and that? How's he there? You know, it's that, as I say, it's that power of the initials BBC at the time, getting you front row. Because even like the walking back, they don't know him, they just look and go, oh, BBC, I'll go and speak to him. It's just crazy.
Insane. The things I always remember about the Sunday show, obviously, apart from Katie Puckrick, was Peter Kay got his big break on the Sunday show. That was always like one of the big things, because it was like midday on a Sunday, so you can't tell blue jokes, but you can kind of vaguely hint at them.
They pushed it quite a bit in this episode for something that's on lunchtime on a Sunday.
I was shocked, Liam. I was going to ask you, what time did this hit? Because I always remember it being on like about 11:30. Then I'm thinking,
12 o'clock.
Is this like what SmackDown used to be like without and they put like a later one on where you could like, get all this? Because it was so on the line all the way through for me, just the edginess and the
like
on the nose kind of stuff.
Pop World kind of took it a bit further, didn't it? With like 9:30 in the morning, and you were getting up, and then seeing Simon Amstel get angry if they were going to be preempted by cricket coverage. Like,
this almost felt like daytime the word.
That's what I had. Gareth, definitely.
Yeah, that's why I added it to the list. It's the extension of the episode of the Word we're going to talk about shortly. Was the last episode ever of the Word, and it was almost like, well, we kind of want the Word, but we don't want the Word in its current guise with it being as offensive as it is. We want to water it down, and the way I suppose that society had moved on at that point is that a program like the Sunday Show wouldn't look out of place with culture in 1995, whereas an episode of The Word in 1992 stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, and also it's that culture at the time. It's that, as we all say, it's that Britpop, like getting out on the ale. So that's perfect time. Waking up on a Sunday morning at 11:30, just lying in bed, throwing that on, isn't it? I guess you guys done that. I'm sure you've done that.
Yeah, and you have Katie Puckrick as the bridge between the two. That's almost like, it's almost like blurring that, like the natural successor to the Word by switching over.
Well,
but you know,
before we go
Pennis,
on to
lads,
that, I just have to throw out the Pennis line when he's talking to the Tory MP on the show, and he says to him about hearing that he has a love of bicycles, especially rallies from the late 1930s. And the guy just walks off like it.
But Gareth, it's like all the one-liners he has all the way through, like, you know, all the celebrities he meets. But the one to Steve Martin's just the most brutal.
Yeah,
It's like, Steve, oh, you're not funny anymore. And he's good. It's fucking awful, though, isn't it? It's just like, it's so fucking vile, but it's great. Oh.
I always remember the one he does with Frank Bruno, when he goes, Frank, there's been a lot of things in the paper about stuff getting in the way of your profession. Do you feel your boxing career is getting in the way of the pantomimes?
Great.
Well, we've teed it up. We'll move on to the last TV show that we're going to talk about today, which is The Word. And as Liam said, it's the final ever episode of The Word, 24th of March 1995, and it's very much central to time. It's on our WhatsApp group. It's the picture on our Time WhatsApp group is Terry Christian and Danny Bear there. It's absolutely, you know, it's almost like the Four Pillars itself, isn't it? As a TV show, the Word and what it covers off there. And yeah, so we've got the final episode here. We've got a little intro from Richard and Judy doing the intro to the last episode of The Word. We've then got Terry Christian and, you know, Danny Bear talking about it being their last ever show, and we've got a real mix of guests here during the course of the show.
Outrageous.
We've got Jimmy Hill, we've got Duran performing music, we've got Mary J. Blige's first European TV performance that she's fucking delighted about, and then we've got a couple of live performances along the way, taking us through the end there. But a lot going on in this extended episode of the Word, and anybody want to jump in and let us know what jumped out for you on this final episode?
I mean, here we green on Jimmy Hill. I mean, it's got to be Jimmy Hill for me to start with. I mean, it's playing off the Cantona.
To the very beginning, mate. Yeah,
exactly.
It ties up. Yeah, exactly. We've worked our way around. I mean, he's talking about Cantona.
Danny Bear, lads. Sorry, I mean, you know, but anyway,
killer. The Randy Orton of her day, wasn't it, when it came to footballers? And it was a fuck instead of a punt, really. Arsenal's Ferdinand and Ryan Giggs.
I'll go with it. Back to Jimmy Hill.
Do you reckon too big of a star for The Word at this point, Matty, Danny Bear?
Oh, totally outgrew the show, Liam, and that pains me to say, but yeah,
like Sid entering the ECW arena.
Always gonna get over as well. Why did we ever doubt it? Always gonna get over. But I mean, yeah, unbelievable stuff. But back to Jimmy Hill, it's like, it's, as you say, it's tying into the Cantona story, but Christian's proper, and fair play to him. Like he's pushing him, isn't he? Like he's really pushing Hill, like, and then when he's not getting the right answers he wants to get out of him regarding Cantona, he just goes round and, well, you're a hunter. Starts hunting and starts trying to get him on that. It's like, fucking hell, he must have a personal vendetta against him.
I thought Jimmy Hill was excellent here, though, because I thought like Terry Christian's trying to trip him up, but Jimmy Hill was just like a bit too smart, a bit too clever for him, kind of thing, with like some of the retorts and stuff. I was like, go on, Jimmy, lad.
I thought that was the interesting, because my prevailing memories of Jimmy Hill is really when he was doing Jimmy Hill's Sunday Supplement, which I did always want to love, except for the fact that Jimmy Hill was on it and would ruin it, because he'd always bring the conversation back to two things, which is like they'd be talking about, like, you know, something quite intricate in terms of like the bigger picture of football, and he'd be like, but surely the England manager wants to play a proper number 9. And he'd be like,
he loved the national team, didn't he?
Complaining about foreign players and stuff like that. And it was like, mate, you're, and it always felt like he's not quite there anymore. He has really passed his peak. Whereas here he's kind of on it, in fairness. Yeah. I mean, it's a hell of a, like, him being sat on the side, what Mary J. Blige would have made of him. Like when she goes on, it's like, who is this? Like, it would have been that time Lady Gaga was sat next to Dot Cotton. on like Graham Norton, and it was like we didn't get the same kind of vibe for that. But yeah, there was Jimmy Hill on there. I have to say, Mary J. Blige being asked about Eazy-E dying of AIDS, and they're just coming out and saying it. And I honestly, I thought, trying to tie in a few things here, tying it back to the NBA, because it was just like he's only just been diagnosed with AIDS, and he's in intensive care, and he's has he died here at this point?
No, he's still alive at this point.
Not long though, there as well, which makes you then wonder about Magic Johnson, because he was fucking absolutely flying, like he was absolutely fine, and so's Mark Fowler that we've seen. So like out of them, you're thinking, well, I'm certainly not believing this Magic Johnson story. I think that's bullshit. I'm going to come out and say that now. I don't think it was any. I just thought it was a fucking gimmick. He was playing an angle there, and he was working people. That's shocking behaviour on that. So yeah, him being asked about that as well. Yeah,
I mean,
the American
what about
this performance of Duran Duran that we've got on screen blew my mind. I was like laughing my head off watching this, where it was like, oh, we're going to perform "Hungry Like the Wolf," and then like went to Duran Duran, and they'd almost just been like, right, we've got to appear really edgy, we've got to appear really a bit more like grungy, alternative kind of thing. Simon Le Bon's there with his Paul Weller haircut, like at the front as well, trying to be a bit more current Oasis-like as well. So there's a bit of mishmash everything. You've got Nick Rhodes with his fucking full pink suit on and things. So they don't know what they are at this stage, Duran Duran, but that performance had me absolutely howling, absolutely ridiculous.
Do you know what the promotion on this episode of The Word? It's an album called Thank You, which is a covers album, which Q Magazine in 2006 crowned the #1, the worst album ever.
Wow.
It features them doing. They perform White Lines with Melly Mel on this, but they on the album they also do Perfect Day by Lou Reed, Watching the Detective by Elvis Costello, Lady Lay by Bob Dylan, 911 is a Joke by Public Enemy, Crystal Ship by the Doors, Matty, one for you.
Yeah.
Ball of Confusion by the Temptations. Diamond Dogs by David Bowie. It's supposed to be one of the worst albums ever.
Oh, listening to that tomorrow.
I have to listen to that immediately.
Well, what do we make of Christian's purple jacket there, lads? What have we right at the time, that polyester to the nines, like proper 90s, innit?
Yeah.
Oh. The thing is, that, like we've got Jimmy Hill coming back and joining the sofa here, and then like I think we've talked about the Jimmy Hill interview, but I think it's just the optics of this, of having Jimmy Hill sat on a sofa with Terry Christian, as they then throw to a feature that Jimmy has to watch on the telly behind him from about gay porn in LA and stunt dicks, which must have blown poor Jimmy's mind at this point in his life. Like, so that's like, what a fucking setup for him to have to be included on that. But very typical of the Word.
What do you think he made of J-Pack? Is that the name of the guy they say gets a £400,000 record contract as well? Yep. How he got that, like, fair fucks him if he did, because he was shit. It was just like, it was an awful version of, was he just meant to be like an awful version of The Streets? I couldn't make head and tail of it. It was fucking diabolical.
It's like E17 meets the Shaman or something, wasn't it?
Jesus Christ, he's selling like that. It sounds more fun than it actually is, but it was fucking dreadful. Dreadful tune.
Do we know how old Jimmy Hill is here?
Oh, he's got to be in his 60s. He's got to be, Liam.
47.
I'm scared at this point. Let's think. He was a player in the 60s, so
he must be 65.
Yeah, 60. I go 60.
I'll say 68, just to go at the other end of it.
67. So.
It's all right there then. That's not too bad, that one.
Do you know who the executive producer of The Word was for this last season? It was Paul Ross, the famous Jonathan Ross. He was the producer for the end of it. He had some other roles in the earlier seasons, but this one is.
I didn't mind him overall. Paul Ross. He was all right. I think.
He was. Yeah.
He was all right.
He used to be the Sun's film critic.
Oh no,
wasn't good. But yeah, I think that's the overall theme about this. Is is it's a show at this stage which is, dare I say it, I know we've made it sound like a kind of a lot more anarchic, but compared to previous series and on previous episodes we've done about the word, where it's just completely fucking bananas. Everyone seems far too in on the joke, particularly the crowd, who are very interested in getting themselves over. Dare I say it? Like, they're all mugging for the camera when they're dancing and stuff like that. And I think that's something where you just sort of go, it's lost its charm. There isn't the, like, dare I say it, some of the, like, what was it? I'd do anything to get on TV, and some of the stuff I'd say look back with a sense of fondness. It doesn't really have those kind of gags. There's a lot of, like, shock stories, but there isn't anything that you're sort of like overtly laughing at, or stuff that's going like kind of wildly wrong. It's just like feels like far too much like everybody's in on the gag. So even when they're cutting to the guy in the pub, Alan Connor, like he is like, it's very much like, oh, your friend betrayed you, but it just, the whole thing feels already staged and set up. So it's like, for me, it's lost some of that charm. It's a show that could come back conceivably in some form. I don't know how it would be, or how he'd get past the whole series of censors, but it's lost some. It definitely lost a lot of the charm from the first couple of series of it.
It does. It feels like a different show. I mean, something that it does have, I think it retains, is you talk about like Terry Christian pushing Jimmy Hill there a bit, like on the interview. Like, it has got that provocative nature. Like later when Mary J. Blige is on the sofa and like, you know, Danny Bear's like asking her about like, people say you're a super bitch and things like that. Like, I don't think that would happen on like an interview on like TV, like too much now that would be that direct. And they played that clip of like the guy from Jodeci, like where he'd been on the word and saying like he was obviously with Mary J. Blige, but he said he wouldn't be marrying her, and they showed that clip to Mary J. Blige, and like she looked like she was absolutely fuming, like looked like she was going to be on the fucking blower to him as soon as she left the sofa, and like giving him a bit of what for, and things like it was just fucking totally dropped that on her like live on air and stuff, which was a bit wild, but yeah, I don't know. Other than wrapping up thoughts of the word in general, anything else jump out? Or
there's a couple of things, Gareth, that jump out on the word as well. Simon Le Bon's interview with Christian about like, what was it? The yacht? I didn't even know about that story. The yacht? He fucking was it? It's the £1 million yacht just sank or something, was it? Like, but it just goes to show of like how, like as he's saying there, it's time again, like a decade earlier, you know what I mean? They were like the biggest band, weren't they? And he goes into like basically you're skint now. That's what he basically says, Christian. He's not asked, is he? He'll try and hammer you.
How low will you go when you play Butlins and stuff? You know?
He's like,
which I thought ironically is a thing that a lot of these acts actually do, is they do big Butlins weekenders and stuff like that, and they're a big deal and they sell quite well.
But even removed from like their big albums in the 80s, the album before this Covers album was the one with like Ordinary World, which was massive. It was a massive album. But yeah, just in general, this does feel dated, doesn't it? The word. Just to put some context on it, Michael Grade was the chief executive of Channel 4 at this time, and was getting some pressure in the House of Commons regarding what was appearing on Channel 4 and the word and stuff. So if they didn't know it was ending, they surely could have seen that the writing was on the world a little bit. That nobody knew if this would be the last season. It was kind of hush. He just never come back, sort of thing. And ultimately, he was replaced by, you'd say, TFI Friday, wouldn't you? And it's a very tamer word that they could broadcast at 6 o'clock and for the post pub going crowd as well in the evenings to fill that void. But yeah, it does feel that, you know, even something as like trivial as 2 years before on the word, you know, the word was known for like upcoming bands and them like appearing for the first time. Okay, Mary J. Blige, you know, very much so at the time, but you know, Duran's on the sofa, Jimmy Hill's on the sofa, as much as it's like, you know, a contrast to what the word is, and it's a Jimmy Hill's on the word sort of thing. It's not really pushing the boundaries of like new talent or like new things or like new acts anymore, is it? It's kind of like the dynamic has changed, where once upon a time the word would be the draw to the guests, whereas now the guests are the draw to the word. It's really changed, and it feels like a chat show almost more than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. The feel of watching this show start to end was just some like, obviously going into it with the knowledge of it in the last show, but it just felt like a show very much on its last legs. I just felt like when you were watching it, a very tired version of something that had gone before, and yeah, rather than it having that kind of like anything could happen energy, it just sort of felt like it just was a bit energyless and a bit plodding, really. This episode start to end.
All it needs is a Panama City and Shane McMahon coming out at the end here, doesn't it? I was just see you later.
Sarah Cox from the Girly Show.
Yeah.
But Danny Bear's got to get one of the last mentions. The staple of our show time so far, lads. The word and Danny Bear. Just got to give her that last mention. Absolute legend.
Yeah. It won't be the last time we mention it at any stage.
Did she do anything after this?
Ice Warriors. Ice Warriors.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look.
And his form dropped at Newcastle. It was like, as far as
Let's
I
have a look,
remember.
lads. Right, what are we saying? Danny Bear, how old is she today, lads? Saying
I've just
that.
looked. So,
Oh, have you got it? I haven't got a date of
55.
birth for her.
what do you say?
I'm going to go
55.
53.
I reckon, yeah, 50. I'll split the difference, 54.
54 is the answer.
That's
Yeah, to be honest, just reading what her career, you may have forgot, but she did do the Big Breakfast for a couple of years, didn't she?
Oh,
God, yeah.
yes, she did, didn't she? Yeah.
And also Hotel Babylon, if anybody remembers that, on BBC. Remember that?
Christ. With Dexter Fletcher.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a name I haven't heard of in years, JP Dexter Fletcher.
Mate, big film director. Directed Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah. And Rocket Man. Big,
It's wild.
proper film director. I'll say this. Sunshine on Leith, really good show. Less so with Bohemian Rhapsody.
And also, just to finish off the history of Danny Bear, she was in I'm a Celebrity as well, Matty. I'm sure you watched that season.
Yeah.
And she was also on an episode. She was also in an episode of Come Dine with Me in 2009, with the other contestants being Dane Bowers from Another Level, like Big Mo from EastEnders.
Oh, we've got to watch this.
And to top it off, Bobby Davro.
Oh, I'm gonna dig that one out. Unbelievable. Do you reckon Dane was sniffing round Danny though? He was, wasn't he? He definitely was.
Oh yeah.
100% he will have been. 100%.
He could have been sniffing around Davro though, for all we know, or Big Mo. Anyway, that was Dane Bowers for you.
That's always the best shout though, isn't it? Sorry, Big Mo is like Gary Oldman's sister in it. That's legit, isn't it? I love that stat. I love that fact. I love that. Unbelievable.
Hey, she's a nil by mouth.
Nil by mouth, isn't it?
I mean, he's an incredible film. An incredible film. Which brings us to the end of another incredible episode of Time, lads. Brilliant stuff. Absolutely loved that. As always, some brilliant stuff. Went all round the houses. Has anybody got any final thoughts they'd like to give before we get out of it?
Just thanks as always, Liam, for getting compiling the list. As always, an absolute corker. As always, Liam.
Great job, mate. All timer of the list this time. I was excited I was excited to get started on this one when I saw the list. So
absolutely outstanding.
Top stuff, mate.
Phenomenal stuff.
Can't wait to listen to that Duran Duran album, huh?
That's it, and as everyone here should be doing as well. Yeah, definitely get on to listening to that Duran Duran covers album after going through the top 10 as well. And all I have to say, as we finish and get out of here, is bye.
Ta-da.
See ya.
So yeah.